And
I
three.
believe so.
Oh. I can't see you, Drew, so just let me know.
Wait, why can't you see me?
Because I'm on the Zencaster page. I'm about to hit record.
Oh, wait, why can't you see me?
Because I'm on the Zencaster page.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just did my check, so we're straight. We're good. Let's go. Hit
All
it.
right,
We're
we're
already
live
live.
in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Empire Radio. I'm Drew.
I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Andrew.
And you are listening to our recap of the final episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 16, The Rescue.
Yes,
Yeah.
the rescue.
We're here.
Yes.
The finale of season 2. Not the series finale, but the season finale.
Well,
No, I've had at least one, if not two people who are Star Wars fans, but I guess are not as up to date on like all of like the current news. Ask me today is like, so is this like the end of the Mandalorian? Or is
well,
this
that's
is like
because
no.
there's a lot of theories out there that's saying the Mandalorian title is different. And I think we can talk about that in a little bit. But people are speculating that this is book one of different books. And so the Mandalorian is the name. People are speculating.
Oh, book.
Yeah.
The book of Mandalorian. The
Yeah.
book of Boba Fett.
The book of other people.
Bo-Katan. The book of Sabine.
So people are speculating that this could potentially be the last version of the Mandalorian that we see from Din Djarin's point of view.
Okay.
So it makes sense why
Wow.
people are
Maybe. I don't know.
freaking out.
I doubt that. I think that would outrage too many fans.
Yeah,
Well,
bro,
not if they do it
people-
properly.
I feel like Lucasfilm could fart and people would be like, "Oh no, this is a new Star Wars movie that's coming out because of the way the wind blew and we smelled it and da 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 da." And I'm like,
Yeah.
just calm down. Just I'm sorry.
But
I'm
it
not
is
gonna-
kind
I'm
of
not
weird,
gonna-
though, that season 3 of The Mandalorian is supposed to be
The
in
exact same time.
December, and the book of Boba Fett is supposed to be in the same time.
Sure.
It might be like a little mini, like 3-4 week thing for Boba Fett, and then the Mandalorian. But
Well, I think what's also interesting. I mean, apparently we're just going in for it.
Nah, we don't need to yet.
Okay, I'm just saying because
Keep
there's
it-
certain
keep it
people
light.
that were with Boba, and last time we saw them were with Mando. So
I didn't hear what you just said. But anyway, Andrew,
I'm confusing Andrew.
Yes.
you were about to say something before you said something.
No, I was just gonna say we should not dive in.
I thought you were going to suggest
no.
a line of thought. Well, we should say that our final cufflinks.com giveaway was a success.
It was.
That indeed.
Yep. Our winner has been selected. Congratulations to Jackson.
Jackson.
He's actually a new fan that just found us last week, and so
That lucky son of a gun.
he
Wow,
already
look
likes
at-
our podcast a lot, and he didn't think he was going to win, but he's excited for that. So.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for coming over and joining. Even I'll say it this way: there's no point that's too late to join. So thank you, seriously, thank you for coming over. And I did think it was funny that he was in the live.
Yeah.
He was like one of the first two people in, and then I guess he dipped out before we announced him as the winner. So that was funny, but I'm super pumped for him. We're gonna get, if you're listening to this episode, which I'm sure you will be at some point, we're gonna be getting your items shipped out as soon as we possibly can. But also, apparently, the entire postal service is
Frozen.
falling apart right now. So, there are other people that haven't gotten their gifts. Please be patient as we navigate this crazy thing.
But anyway, even though we're done with doing giveaways, our promo code for cufflinks.com is still good
That
through
is
the end of the
correct.
year. So
Yep.
even if you haven't won anything, you can still get a discounted item, a Star Wars item, or anything else on the website. So
Yep. And not only that, but if you get Christmas money and you're like, oh,
ooh,
I don't know what to use my Christmas money on. Well, you're gonna have two opportunities. We're gonna tell you about two things during the course of this episode you can spend your money on. One of those is obviously cufflinks.com, and you can get a discount, like Jeremiah mentioned, using the code that you're gonna hear in just a moment in an ad. But there's another sponsor farther into the episode that you're gonna want to hear about as well if you haven't already, and especially if you're a coffee lover. So
See,
speaking of coffee, really quickly while we're doing shopkeeping items, um, the coffee. If you missed a chance, well, you did. You missed your chance to get it if you weren't Jackson. But just a heads up that we are still planning on selling. We have 4 bags available at this point. 4. Okay. 4 more bags of that special Wesley Andrews collaboration coffee with Empire Radio Rule of 2, and we are going to be selling those as soon as we can work out the logistics on how to do that. Okay. So if you were super interested in getting the coffee and you did not, stand by. And another thing that I want to make note of is that if we can get 14 people, okay, so if for some reason you don't get a bag this first time, but you still want some, if we can pull together 14 people, we can do another run. But with high quality coffee, what you don't want to do is roast it
and
and then
sit
let
on
it
it.
sit. Yeah, and sit on it for weeks until it gets purchased. Uh, Trust me, you don't want that. It's nowhere near as good. And so, if we can get a group of 14 people together in the near future, we can roast some more and sell those as well. So, if you would like that, please reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram via direct message and let us know. And we can get that dialogue started. That would be very helpful. But let's just take a quick moment, hear a word from our sponsor, cufflinks.com, and then dive into the wild ride that was this episode. Check it out.
All right, go do it. Go to cufflinks.com and make sure you use the promo code at checkout Empire15. All right, guys. So, like we've been talking and kind of already jumping to the end of the episode allegedly, but we're going to let's pull back a little bit. We kind of, what do we normally do? We kind of say our thoughts. We cry if needed. Jeremiah hates it most of the time, so let's get into the normal
most time,
routine.
half the time.
Half
Okay,
the
there's a
time.
difference.
Let's get to the normal routine. Jeremiah, you liked it, you hate it. Let's start with you tonight.
Okay. I had really high expectations for this episode
That's
because
fair.
the finale of last season was so amazing. And I would say that last season's finale was better than this one in my opinion.
All right.
I think that as an episode, the first season's finale was I was more on the edge of my seat the whole episode for that. This one,
Okay. All right.
I there wasn't any well not anything. There's one part, obviously the main part of the episode that was great and amazing and didn't believe it happened. But apart from that, I don't know. I wasn't really all that excited about everything that happened. It was good
All
and it
right.
was a lot of great things, but it wasn't my favorite episode of this season.
Okay.
Andrew?
I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. Um, I thought it was a really solid, like heavy ending to this season. Um, I haven't quite processed it in its entirety yet. It might be my favorite episode. It
Okay.
might. It's up there. It's pretty high. There's a lot of, if you listen to any of the other podcast episodes where we talk about favorite characters or our lightsabers or anything like that, there was something very nostalgic and very important for me personally in this episode, in the character cameo that we get towards the end and his lightsaber. Um, I love seeing him wreck stuff. That was good. You know, it's really nice to. It's always nice to see like updated skills from any character that
Right.
didn't like they didn't
Correct.
have the choreography for, or there were limitations, or whatever. So I love that. I thought that there were so many little things that like made the future of the Mandalorian complicated,
Right.
and I really like that. Like it felt like they really like shut the book on this chapter
Yeah.
and ended this season well. But then simultaneously, the second you step back and you start like thinking about it, you're like, wait a second, there's like 3 or 4 other things that are not resolved yet. So like they've got a lot they can do with the future. That ending scene was heart wrenching.
Did you cry?
I didn't. My wife did.
Did you cry,
I
Andrew
was
or Jeremiah?
I was
I did not.
close.
I was too
I really thought you would have, Jeremiah.
I was caught in my intellectual analysis at this moment.
Really?
It's weird because like you would think that I would be super emotional because like there's other things that have happened in Star Wars shows, animated and this show that like would get me emotional. But this one I was just kind of like too much in shock at the end to like really have
Yeah.
emotion.
That's fair.
And now that like I've processed it, like now it's like the emotion part is like I can't get emotional about it now. I lost my opportunity to get emotional, but I didn't.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah,
Andrew,
I thought it was really good. Yes.
question:
Yeah.
when the first episode of season 2 aired, your initial thoughts were, if this season keeps up this momentum, this will be the best stuff ever put out in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now that we're done with season 2,
Yes.
what is your conclusion on that statement you made?
I can answer for you.
Not a definitive yes. So it's not like
it's not a definitive yes. I would say, I think, in my opinion, this is the best stuff we've gotten since the Disney takeover
this season.
this season. But then, man,
I don't know,
but
dude.
then I'm thinking about Rebels and I'm thinking about Clone Wars, like even just season 7, and I'm thinking, I mean, like it's hands down better than all the movies that they've produced. Even Rogue One, I like this more than Rogue One, hands down. Like
That's
I would
fair.
watch this over any of the movies that have come out since Disney took over. I would say it's so difficult because like you can't compare. I have a hard time comparing season 2 of The Mandalorian to all 4 seasons of Rebels. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like I know that story as a whole now, and I remember it
Yeah.
as a whole, and so that's what's difficult because like you have 4 seasons of character development versus doing it against just one person or one season.
And also
I,
like the animated shows, the seasons are much longer.
yeah, they are.
So
Yeah,
like there's even it's not just, 4 seasons compared to 2 seasons, it's also hours too.
yeah.
That are a lot longer.
I would say this season, in my opinion, is I liked it more than the first season, hands down. I would say this is better than any of the movies that Disney has produced. And I would say for being able to see live action, just for that factor, I do think this has an edge over Clone Wars season 7 for me. It's not I'm not saying it's like leaps and bounds, but I am saying it does have a little bit of an edge for me just because of that factor.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Drew. What are your overall thoughts of this episode?
I don't know if it's because I watched it at 2 a.m. and I literally only slept for an hour and a half before I watched it because I could not fall asleep, and my wife wouldn't stop talking, and I went to bed at like 12 o'clock. But now I woke up at 1:30 to set up and get ready for it. In the moment, I mean, you could go back. Anyone could go back and watch my the whole watch party is still up on YouTube and on our Twitch. You can go watch me, but I literally almost cried. I was holding back my tears the whole spoilers, 3, 2, 1, the whole Luke part. It was really hard for me not to cry during that whole scene. What?
Yes, Andrew.
There was one thing, and we'll talk about this. There was one thing that really kept distracting me about that whole thing, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
It was the one thing that I think kept me from emotionally investing so much that I would have cried.
Okay, now I really want to know, what is it? Just say it.
It was his face.
Well, no, not that part. I'm saying like the whole walk up, everything about it.
Oh, the walk up, dude!
The
I had
whole
chills the
thing.
whole time. Oh yeah.
The music, the cinematic music
Oh,
of
yes.
how it was a super intense, crazy moment, but it was like super soft and like just
Yeah.
the whole thing. I think by far, besides the original trilogy for me, this is the best Star Wars that we could potentially get.
Season
Hands
2?
down. No, this episode. I think this is one of the best episodes I've ever seen of anything. This blows anything out of the water for me, this episode. I don't know if it's because I was up.
Even episode 1?
Even episode 1. This is by far. Well, because I still got Tatooine at the end of this episode. Like, I still
that is
got.
true. That is
I
true.
still
That is
got what
true.
I wanted to get.
Jeremiah,
Like-
Drew is he's a
I
simple
get it.
man when it comes to Star Wars.
I know he's just a simple man.
If you
making
have
his way through
Boba
the
Fett,
galaxy, but
Luke Skywalker, and Tatooine in the same episode, you've sold Drew.
And Jabba's
You've got his
Palace.
undying. Jabba's Palace, yeah.
yeah, I guess whatever.
Okay, so how about we do this? Do you want to go ahead and get the end part out of the way first?
We can. We could
Because we keep alluding to it over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know because.
All right. Well, okay. We'll just do it because it's super quick and like there's
It's
obviously
short.
not.
It's short.
It's
Yeah.
short, but it's very controversial. I don't know how
Now,
quick it is.
Okay. So when I finished the episode, I went to the credits.
Yeah.
I immediately knew something was up when there was
Same.
no concept art.
Yep.
I was like, this is different. And like, I'm like, they wouldn't do an end credit scene, but like, why wouldn't they show concept art?
Well, the one thing that I noticed was how much time was left. Because the credits rolled and there was like 8 minutes left, and I was like,
Well,
'cause I think it's usually like 4 to 5 minutes is the credits.
Yeah.
normally.
and I noticed it because I was streaming it, and I had a clock next to me. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's it," and I went to the main screen. I'm like, "Why is there so much time left on my clock?" I'm like, "All right, guys, well, let's give it up for season 2. Like, this was so dope. I was amazed." And then I like scrolled to like end it, right? And
Yeah.
I saw a slide of a picture. I was like,
yeah.
wait, we're not done. This isn't over. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess we're not done. We're just going to keep the clock running and just watch it throughout the whole thing. Because I still want people to line up and like watch the whole thing with me.
Right.
And then I literally was screaming. It was crazy, dude. It was so good.
Yeah.
And
So apparently, I guess I didn't check this, but I was watching someone on YouTube just before we started, and when it went through the credits, it had an accreditation for Bib on there
before
in the
tuna.
credits before we even see him.
Yep.
Oh, LOL. That's
So, like,
funny.
Yeah.
So like he wrote it down because in his notes he's like, I didn't see him in this episode. Was he in the background, like in that planet they were on in the earlier in the episode or something? But like,
And
it
then
was kind of
bam.
funny. I didn't notice that either. Well, I'll go back see if I can find it. But that's just interesting that they kind of spoiled that, but not really.
But not really, because people were just too stoked.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could get into it if we want to get into
Yeah.
the last scene.
I'll talk through the scene like we normally do. So, shows up. We see the twin sons. We're like, oh, we're on Tatooine. Okay.
Oh, I screamed it.
think?
I literally screamed it. I was like, twin sons. I was kidding, dude. Just go watch it. It's so.
And the camera pans over, and it's Jabba's palace. I'm like, what? Jabba's palace?
Yeah.
What's going on
Yeah.
here? Like, Jabba's dead. I thought like this place would have been like abandoned or something. Like, I didn't even like register in my head like why are they there? And it goes down inside, and my buddy Bib, which I was surprised.
Big boy Bib.
Like,
That's
he has some big leku on him. Like, those are disgusting. Also, like usually like most Twi'leks are they look pretty good. They're like very attractive guys and gals. Like with their.
I think it's
he
because
was
of his
always
color.
nasty though.
Yeah,
But he's
like,
also like super pasty.
He's like He's like it's like if you cook salmon on the grill, but not fully cook it, so it's like a white, oily pink. That's what his skin looks like.
Yeah.
Like, so he's down there, like he's sitting on the throne or Jabba's throne, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Game of Thrones, homie.
I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then you recognize some characters down there, like the purple, like mohawk looking thing. What is it, or whatever it was? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Like I think it was a female alien. I was like,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just don't know I don't know what she's called.
Right. So I recognize that. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then you hear gunfire, and you see Fennec come down. I'm like, oh, there's Fennec. That means Boba's right behind her, probably.
Well, and you hear the guy. No, before that though, when you hear the shooting, you hear Boba, one of the aliens say Boba, like really quick.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he says it really fast. He's like Boba, and he gets shot, and then she starts walking around, and it's like literally mimicking.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi.
And it's like so beautiful, it's so amazing.
Right, and so Fennec comes down, and so first she kind of clears the way and frees one of the slaves, which was very nice. Because the slave was
good for her.
The slave was kind of like scared, like she thought she was gonna get killed too.
Yeah.
But Fennec was like, "Get out of here!" And then Boba comes down, and Bib is like, "Boba, hey, da 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 da," and like that didn't really last too long, and Boba just kills him and throws him off the throne, sits down. Fennec
grabs some Spotska.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I don't know what this means. Like, and then it goes to a title screen, The Book of Boba Fett. I was like, okay. And then Christmas 2021. What?
Yeah. Well, December. It says December 2021.
December 2021. I'm like, okay. And then so then I look it up, and everyone's saying it's a TV series.
Okay, so at first I was like, oh, I literally said this too on stream. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to read a book. Like, I guess I'm reading a book. And then I went into someone's YouTube who was also doing a watch party. And he was just talking to his chat. He was crying still, super dramatic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was just talking to his chat. And they were like, what if instead of it's actually being a book about Boba Fett, it means a show, because it's like a book of the Mandalorian right now, and we're getting chapters. What if this means this is the next volume of this series is now Book of Boba Fett? And then he was like, wait, that makes complete sense. And I was like watching this at real time. I mean, I already ended my stream, and I was like, wait, hold up. Yes, that makes 100%. Like, that is what it is. It's not a book. I mean, if it is a book, I'll read it. But I'm guaranteed it's not a book at this point.
It's not a physical book, no.
No. And it was kind of crazy to actually like get that information at real time, because it was still like 3:30 in the morning. So like we were like finding this out, and it was really cool to like figure this out as like a Star Wars community, like in the moment. And I really like, I'm saying this right now. Like any next show that I'm doing all watch parties from here on out. Just so you guys are aware. So prepare to
right.
join me at whatever the time is. We'll let you know. But I really enjoyed it, and it could have been because it was a high of the last one, and I don't know, but it was dope. And yeah, I honestly, my prediction right now is I don't think we're gonna see Din Djarin from his point of view anymore. I think the next thing is Boba Fett. I think the Din Djarin story is not going to be from his point of view. If anything, we're going to get like Bo-Katan's point of view about how she has to get that lightsaber from Din Djarin. I don't think Din Djarin's going to be the figure anymore.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because
I don't see what he needs to do at this point. His story is kind of like wrapped
yeah,
up.
No,
but
it's not.
How's it not?
what the whole thing is restoring Mandalore. That's the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah,
end
but
goal
I
of
mean-
the series.
He accidentally
Sure.
ended up with the Darksaber. Like
Yeah.
he's the ruler of Mandalore at this point.
And
True.
he even agrees in the bar or whatever, Katina, that he would help Bo restore Mandalore. Like he said, it was in passing. Like when they made their agreement, like he kind of
Yeah,
agreed to that.
no, I get that point,
So,
but I don't
like-
think we're gonna see it from his view, though. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I
I
know what
don't
you're
think
saying.
it's gonna
I
be
just-
like
But then,
the
but then
Mandalorian.
they would have to change the name, and then at that point, to me, it's a different show.
It is.
Yeah.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
they've signed on for 4 seasons though.
Well, but like we were talking on Tuesday, like we've signed on for these shows, but I think it's a group of shows. Like I think they're gonna announce like it's not the Mandalorian. It's gonna be like all tying in together.
But they have announced that the Mandalorian season 3. Like it's been announced. Like they haven't changed the name of it to the Book of Boba Fett or
Well, yet
anything like that.
they just did. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Would it surprise you?
I mean,
'Cause I
Kathleen
don't-
Kennedy did say that the next chapter would be starting in December of 2021.
Correct.
And it is funny that she used the word chapter.
Yes.
You know, like I understand, and it's
And
there
there's nothing.
is grounds to think that. Sure, I just don't think that they're gonna do away with Din Djarin as a main character. I don't.
Yeah.
It has to stay with him because I think it would make a lot of fans upset. Like I think the Boba Fett thing will be a short, like 3 or 4 week thing
I don't.
that would
think
lead
so.
into the 3rd season. So it'd be kind of like a little spin-off of
Yeah, because he's on his own complete trajectory that's different from Din Djarin. Like he's
Well-
now the ruler of a criminal empire.
Yeah, so like,
know,
yeah, my thought is it's not I think we're gonna pick up that scene where we left off from Bo-Katan's point of view. She's gonna be the next character. So I think that the Mandalorian stuff that we're getting in December is Boba Fett. And then it's gonna be Bo-Katan and then Ahsoka. Like I think
it would make more sense if they did that every season rather than having 2 seasons already
Right.
for one character.
well,
Right.
they had
They were
to
gonna
though.
do that.
Because they
Can't have to
didn't.
do anything.
No,
'cause
but
if they were
it didn't
gonna plan it
end.
out- Well,
That's what I'm
right.
saying.
But if they were gonna do 2 seasons and then a single season and a single season,
Yeah.
like if they were gonna do different perspectives, they would have done 4 seasons of different perspectives, and they would have written the show to work
But
out.
the
like
thing is, we're still forgetting it's not a season. It's a continued chapter. This is number 16 in a book.
Okay,
This is
the
what we're
reason-
forgetting,
The reason
though.
they did that is because the movies
For-
are episodes, so you can't say episode 3
No, that
because then
yeah.
you can confuse the show with the movie. So the reason they did chapters is just
But
I will
if
say
you
that
think of it as a book, 16 chapters in one book, the next book is Boba Fett's book.
okay.
like
we
That's-
get it.
there's
the
a lot
concept.
of coincidence. Yeah, like there's a lot of coincidence. I just don't. My thing, sure, they might be doing the book thing, but my prediction is that they're not going to do away with Din Djarin.
Yeah. I don't think that I don't think they're gonna get rid of Din Djarin. I just don't think that's gonna be the first thing we're gonna see. I don't think that's gonna be. I don't think we're gonna get Din Djarin, like his point of view, until maybe like a couple years from now. Honestly, I think we're pausing on Din Djarin's point of view. That's just what I think.
I think
there's
it's a lot of speculation based off a title of.
No, this is what a lot of people are saying now. Granted, yes, it is based off title. Granted, I don't want that to be true. I'm just saying, it's a lot of this is adding up, and the way and people are breaking down like the 2020 thing. It would make sense that they did it like this.
I don't think it makes sense at all. But
my thing is like all this character development for him. He finally takes off his helmet.
Yeah.
In front of people at the end, and then it's like, see you later.
But he didn't take it off for that. He took it off because he needed a. I mean, we can go scene by scene and we can talk about why he took it off, and how that was cameo for other people taking off their helmets and other Star Wars medium, and how there's
what?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say it. Luke took off Vader's helmet to see his father from that point of view before he died.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That scene was mimicking that 100%.
Oh, no.
Yes. What? That's what that was.
No,
yes, it was.
There's some similarities, but like it's a completely different. Like the dynamic is completely different.
I don't think we're ever gonna see Grogu and Din Djarin in the same room ever again. I don't think so.
No, because he says, "I will see you again." Like that is foreshadowed as an intentional line said that those two are going to interact again in the future of the series.
Yeah.
And if with what we learned about the new other shows, the Ahsoka series and the Rangers series, all three of these shows are supposed to come together in one event, one episode or something like that, crossover event.
Mm-hmm.
And so like all these characters are going to come. It's going to be like Avengers Endgame. Like all these are going to come in at one time for one big conclusion. So, and I think Grogu is going to be part of it. I think Thrawn's going to be part of it. I think obviously Ahsoka is going to be part of it. And Din, he's the main character for the show, and he's going to be in it and Bo-Katan's going to be in there. I think it's all going to come together, and they're all going to hash it out some way, and we don't know exactly what, but
yeah, it's Star Avengers.
Star Avengers.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep, patent.
Star Avengers, trademark.
Trademark that right now.
All right, but let's go scene by scene for the rest of the episode.
Okay.
Yes.
We're already a half hour in, so. So it starts off. Slave 1 is chasing after an Imperial shuttle, a Lambda, and Dr. Pershing is inside with 2 pilots, and they're on their run, blah, blah, blah. And the Slave 1 disables the Lambda, and he boards the ship. And I thought it was a really cool scene when we see the Slave 1 go up in front of
very intimidating.
It was very scary.
It was pretty dope.
And so, again, it showed like how much bigger Slave 1 was compared to the Lambda.
Yeah,
I want to know how they docked.
I feel like
top?
I feel like they kind of wrote the story and realized we don't know how these two ships can connect, so we're just not gonna show it.
If you think about it, it doesn't ruin the episode by any means. But if you think about it,
because like the only
it's a little fishy
of the Slave 1 is like the drop door. Like there's not like
I mean that we know of, but
yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there any other medium where it's kind of there's like a top hatch or anything?
Well, a lot of it is like a hatch that people use.
No, I know. I'm saying like I'm trying to think if we ever seen the Slave 1 have a hatch. I don't think so.
No, because we haven't. We've seen minimal.
Yeah.
Because we see that in episode 2. And
I mean, we've honestly gotten more of Slave 1 in this season than we have in all the other
Correct.
Star Wars
That is true.
mediums. So
I'm just trying to think in the Clone Wars, do we see a hatch at all? I don't think so.
I don't think so. But anyway, um, Boba enters the cockpit along with Kara Dune, and the pilots they hold Pershing hostage. Like, he's like a top tier target for the New Republic. So the New Republic knows who this guy is
Apparently.
because he's referred to as a clone engineer, which we knew he was involved with Camino because of his signet thing patch on his shoulder.
Right.
And so it's interesting that because I kind of felt like I've always just assumed like he was kind of like a leftover clone facility worker that the Empire took because like that's all they had that was
Yeah.
available, kind of thing. But like apparently he's like Finn and is a big deal. So
Gosh.
so that was cool. And then so like the one pilot shoots the other pilot, which I didn't expect, and it was kind of a weird. It was kind of awkward because he shot him and like guy like screamed, but it was like usually
No,
when
that was
somebody
the
That was
doctor who
that
screamed.
was Pershing.
huh?
Dr.
was
Pershing
Pershing.
screamed.
Yeah. It wasn't
Oh,
the guy who screamed.
Okay, but my point is like the way that the other pilot dies, was very like not the same as
He
other.
just fell over.
I don't know. I felt like he shot him and like he stood for like 2 seconds and then fell over. But I don't
It
know.
was a little weird. I give you that. It was
It was
a little weird.
different, but
Close quarters,
right.
It was, for me, it was weird that they weren't wearing helmets at all. I thought that was kind of weird.
Budget's tight, Drew.
Yeah. They had to spend all that money on those extra small handcuffs.
Yeah.
Like
That was
that was a custom built one. That's extra money. Like you can't just get.
Okay, but for
That's
real,
a big expense.
are any of those two pilots like well-known actors or anything?
I don't know.
Comedians or anything? No. Okay, I
Not
didn't
that I know.
recognize them, but like that's why that's one of the reasons why Bill Burr never wore his last episode. So I was just like, it's just kind of weird that all these people are like not wearing their helmets. I don't know.
Well, they are uncomfortable, like we learned last season or last episode.
Yeah, you can't see anything.
can't
either.
see anything.
How are you supposed to fly?
And like
True.
their commanding officer wasn't there anyway, so like
Yeah, you can slack off a little bit.
yeah.
That's
But
fair. These
I
are
really
all
like-
good points.
I like how that the final pilot taunted Kara about Alderaan.
Gosh.
Like
Ooh.
Well, she taunted
was-
him back though. That was so funny. That was dope.
Yeah.
like,
He was
I
like,
was
I
part
was
of
in
the
the
Death
Death
Star.
Star.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah.
And so like I was a little tense because like he's like I was there when millions died, blah blah blah, and da 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 da, and she was just fuming, and then just
Then he says it. He says the line where he's like, "Yeah, the destruction of your planet was worth it to squash out, something like squash out terrorism or something like that."
Yeah.
And she drops him.
yeah.
Do you guys think it would have been kind of cool if Pershing's ear was like a little like seized, like had a
Like
burn
burned?
mark?
Sure.
I mean, that was pretty close.
Yeah. I thought that was a heck of a way to start an episode because it goes
Oh,
straight
yeah.
to the title right after that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
It started off hot. I was like, all right, we're going in. No turning back. Like, this is dope.
Right. And so then after that, we see Slave One land on some random planet. I don't know if we ever got a name like from behind the scenes of like what that planet is, but
No, it's
Not
like
yet.
a farming industrial planet.
yeah, it was interesting to see those big industrial factories like spread out. Like, oh, this is an interesting
Yeah.
landscape. And he lands, and I see a Mandalorian ship.
Yep.
And I'm like, Bo-Katan is here. They tracked Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
honestly didn't catch that right away.
Wait, really?
Not like the first.
The
Like-
wings?
I know I
wings
didn't even
standing-
see it. I was just like, I think I was like messing with. I was like looking at my chat. I wasn't
Oh.
like paying attention directly into the ships in the area. I saw like it was like kind of weird looking. It looked like Las Vegas, but like gloomy. Like there's this this is trashy. Like, I don't know. It just like I was like, oh, this planet is really why are they going here? And then we saw her, and then later I realized, like, I saw the ship when they're all together. But like at first glance, I didn't catch it right away. Was I surprised though? No. So
No, they're getting the band back together.
Yeah.
but they still wanted to be broken up. But keep going.
So anyway, they enter into like a Katina type setting, and Boba and Din walk in together, and everyone just stops and looks because that's what you do when a Mandalorian walks in. And then they both like start,
especially when two of them.
Dude, it was such a cool scene. I was like,
like
freaking out.
It was cool how they both started on the left, and they turned together simultaneously. Like
it was pretty dope.
That's what Mandalorians do, because it's like, I'm assuming it probably has to do with like their ability to see.
Definitely how they can see.
Like you can't just kind of like do a small little look back and forth. Like they had to do like a whole like they were an owl. Like
yeah, well, your side vision is horrible in those. Like,
do you think that's?
I mean, that we know of. They could have a really good heads-up display.
True. I mean, from the ones I own, they're really horrible to see in sideways.
Well, sure.
So your view is like, I think that's why like they have to like fully look. But I also think that's why they're really good at combat, because they're way more aware of their surroundings than just focusing on their peripheral vision.
Right. But when they pan across, they stop and they see Reeves, Costa, and Bo-Katan sitting down eating, and they turn around and they start they're kind of surprised, and then they start talking, and Din's like, I need your help. And what did she say? She's like, I'm not a bounty hunter like you guys. Like,
she's like, not all Mandalorians are bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, something like that. And
yeah, I'd like to make note, they got real snippy with Boba real fast.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Do you think she knew who he was before he spoke?
Oh yeah,
So she knew
because of the armor.
Okay, it seemed like the only reason she knew who he was because she recognized his voice, not because she recognized.
Yeah, no, I think it was a voice. I think it was a voice, because as soon as he talked, her eyes like lit up, and then she was like, she knew who he was then.
Yeah, even though he was the most infamous, bounty hunter in the galaxy, I felt like she didn't.
Well, it was painted.
You need to get rid of your cat, because he's super like distracting. He's like staring like.
Sorry for those of you who can't see the stream right now. There he goes. He's going. He really likes to just jump up onto my shoulders, because we allowed him to as a kitten, and so sometimes we'll just be doing random stuff and he'll just pop up on our shoulders, and he
was like looking into the distance.
No,
like,
he is literally there have been times where like I've been like kind of lean forward or something, messing with a pedal board or whatever, and he'll get comfy like right at the base of my neck where he can find a relatively flat spot. He'll just get comfy and just sit there. I'm like, well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Now I can't move, but it's fine. All right, cat's gone. Please continue.
Cat's gone. So Bo-Katan says,
"Cat's gone."
So Bo-Katan, hey,
I see you. He's not a rapper though.
By the way, here's a shameless plug. If you want to see this moment take place in real time, the stream for this is going to be on YouTube. So if you're listening to this after, obviously, if you're listening to this after we recorded it, go ahead over to our YouTube, Empire Radio, a Star Wars podcast, and check it out.
Correct.
Yeah, and apparently one of our fans doesn't think that I look the way my voice sounds. And so I'm not going to name names, but did you send him that picture I sent you?
No, not yet.
Okay. If you're listening, there's a picture of me that maybe will fit the way you think I look. Well, it's all dependent on Andrew if he's going to send you that picture. So Bo-Katan says, not all Mandalorians are bounty hunters, and she's not interested. But then Mando says they got the kid,
Yeah.
and
That's
that piqued
why
it.
doesn't he just start with that? Clearly, that's all he has to say to everyone.
Well, he didn't have a chance to say anything because Bo-Katan's like already like not having it, and so he
Yeah.
didn't even have a chance to say it because he was going to say it right away. But then she had her issues, and then that's when she piques the interest, and he's like, Moff Gideon has him, and she's like, this cowers away, kind of like, oh, we can't find him. Like, he's like, well, no, I have his coordinates, and then she's all excited about that, like, you can bring me to him, blah blah blah, and so then while that's happening, Boba and Reeves Costa, they're having their issues. Like, I don't even know why they're like.
I don't know. It feels like they've interacted before.
I think they're both. She's really hot headed, and he knows that he's got the experience.
She said something to him.
Well, she said, I didn't know that sidekicks talked or something like that. Even though
Yeah.
she's a sidekick too, and she just talked.
Well,
but
the
No,
next
she
thing-
didn't say that. Bo-Katan
Yes, she
said
did.
that. I thought that was Bo-Katan that said that.
No. She did. She
Really?
did say it. She was like, I didn't know psychics could talk. And then he says something, the Star Wars equivalent of, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Because it's like that's the skank flat calling the barrel flopper. It's like something weird.
yeah, it was
And
weird. I
then
had to
but
put
it
the
was
subtitles on to read them. Like that still makes no sense.
yeah. But it was the,
He
it
said
was
it
the
so
same thing.
quick. He was like, I was like, oh.
Yeah. But then that's how they got into it.
Yeah, and so then they start fighting, and immediately Boba Fett, like, yep, Boba Fett's going to take this child Mandalorian down and throws her down, and he tries to tie her up with his, I don't even know what is that weapon even called? Tether? Like, is it?
It's
Tether
a
shot?
tactical rope, tactical wire. I don't know, dude. Grappling.
rope?
Yeah, I mean it's a grappling hook essentially, because if you look at the end of it, it does have little hooks, so he could
Yeah.
shoot it onto like a
So-
ledge or something.
Do you think it's designed so that when it hits something, it immediately goes in action to spin around? Because she seemed like she purposely caught it on her wrist, knowing that that's what would happen. Like,
I would say yes and yes.
okay, so that was cool that she knew how to defend against that,
Mm-hmm.
and it only went around her wrist, and then she pulled him over, and then she grabbed him, put him in a headlock, did like a jumped in the air, used her jetpack to fly up, and then throw him down and through a table, and then they both use their flamethrowers at each other, and it's like evenly matched. And Bo-Katan's like, "Would you guys stop it already?" Like being the mom, like two siblings are fighting, and they stop. It was just kind of funny.
Well, she says save it for the imps, and then she was like, if we fought for our planet half as
Yeah,
strong as this, we wouldn't have lost it. And I was like,
right.
yeesh.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yep. And so this is then where Bo-Katan and Din Djarin make their agreement to help each other out. And he's like, my number one priority is just getting the kid. You can have whatever you want. And he says something along the lines of him helping her rescue Mandalore, I thought. And I have to go back.
She says, if I help you at the end of your quest, if you survive at the end of your quest, I'll have you reconsider aiding us and retaking Mandalore. And he's like, yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, to me it seemed very dismissive. Like he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I just want the kid. I don't think he ever, in that moment, I don't think he actually agreed. I just think he was like, yeah, sure, I'll consider it, you know.
I'll have to go back and look at, but it was just interesting because it seemed like it implied he was more on board with a bigger thing than just getting the kid. But like he said, his main priority was getting the kid, so he didn't really care what the rest of the terms were.
Yeah.
And so then after that, it goes to them in hyperspace, and they're making their plans to break into the, what do they call it? It was an Imperial light cruiser. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, it was a light cruiser.
Yep. And so
I mean, going back to that, he did say fair enough to her when she said that.
See, that's what I was saying. It was like very. It
If you
wasn't very
survive your
committal.
quest, you will
Yeah.
consider helping us retake Mandalore. And then he said, fair enough.
Yeah. And so they're going over their battle plan, trying to come up with something. And I really liked that Dr. Pershing
Helped.
them, because we knew that
Yeah.
he's not a bad guy. Like we
No.
know that from the beginning, that like in season 1, that he wants what's best for Grogu. He doesn't want to hurt him, doesn't want to kill him, doesn't agree really with what's doing, but he's kind of in a position where is Grogu's only chance of survival type of thing. So like he's in it kind of to save Grogu. And
Well,
so
he's the equivalent of what's her name's dad in Rogue One. Like he
Galen Erso.
yeah, it's a Galen Urso kind of sort of situation where he's working for the Empire because he's pretty much a slave to the Empire.
Right. Yeah.
If
It's
he
against
doesn't,
his
he'll
will.
die. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I guess I really like that he did that, and he kind of explained, is okay, there are dark troopers, da 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 da, and they're making the assumption that these dark troopers are in suits, or they're people in suits, and he's like, no, these are
They're phase 3.
phase 3.
Yep.
They got rid of the weakest component of the human thing, and they're just droids, and everyone's just, like, shocked by this. Like, they're surprised, like, this is not good, because they knew if there's a person inside, there's a better chance of them.
there's a weakness.
There's a weakness, but now there's no weakness that they can even try and comprehend, because they don't know anything about it.
And these are different from
The original phase 3 and the EU.
Well, no, these are different from your normal battle droids too, because if that was if that was something that they might have thought of, like these are built like tanks. Like if I would argue that if the Trade Federation had these,
game over.
Oh god.
Game over.
100%.
Right.
So,
but Palpatine didn't want the Separatists to have them, so
that's correct.
He wanted the war to go on, so that he didn't want an easy win. So he gave him the worst droids in the galaxy to.
Yeah.
The only step down is C-3PO, like, and we saw how that went.
He held his own.
What did he scream in the arena? Die, Jedi scum.
Die, Deadeye darts. I thought it was Deadeye Jart.
What?
Wasn't it Deadeye Jedi Dark or Darth or something?
No, die Jedi scum.
Really? Did not.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've finished that movie.
Because he immediately is like, "Oh my gosh, what am I saying?"
Yeah.
So, but I don't think we've seen it before that I can remember in Star Wars. But when the Lambda and Slave One are in hyperspace, like
they're together.
Like have we seen like two ships together in hyperspace? Like
we
together?
Yeah. I'm like 99% sure we've seen that before, where fleets happen together or like go in together.
Well, they go in together, but we don't see them in the swirl of the hyperspace together.
I could have sworn we have.
I think we have in Rebels.
I didn't think twice about it. Yeah, yes. I didn't think twice about it when I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, cool.
So I actually did though. I was like, oh, I don't think we've seen this angle before. I actually mentioned it in my live stream. I'm like, oh, this is cool. They're like in the same, like they're really close together. Like one of them weaves off a little different. Could bump each other in hyperspace. But I think we've seen that in Rebels. Like it feels familiar, though. But yeah.
I'll have to binge watch Clone Wars and Rebels and see if I can find it. But and so their plan is the Lambda to be attacked by the Slave One and try and get the land inside the cruiser to safety,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they would infiltrate, which was an interesting way of. So I was thinking, like, how are they gonna board? Like from last episode, like, how are they gonna board this ship? Like,
With the
it's
Slave One, like what?
Slave One or any ship. Like,
Yeah.
it's still it's not a Star Destroyer, but it's still big enough to like take on any like attack or any like trying board. So I was like, okay, but this is an interesting way they did it kind of undercover, and
It reminded me so much of Jedi though, like getting that shuttle, pretending to
Yeah.
be someone else, landing, like using it to get past their first like security check. It was so like this. I mean, there's multiple reasons why this reminded me of Jedi this episode, but it was so good.
and I really liked how the TIE fighters launched. I thought it was a
I thought it
cool.
was cool. Yeah, I did
Yeah, it
too.
was sick. I was
Do you
like,
know
dude,
what?
this would be a sick ride, like to.
Yeah.
Vroom.
Do you know what that reminded me of?
No, we don't.
That's you know what? That's a good point. Actually, I never really thought about that question until you just said something, and now I feel really silly. So that's great. Thanks for that. Did either of you ever watch Zoids?
So Zoids.
It was an anime.
No.
Well, I mean,
Cartoon Network. I mean, it
No.
aired on Cartoon Network, and it was essentially Gundam, but with animals instead of humanoid robot. Do you know what Gundam is?
I think I've actually seen this now that you
So
say
it was like big animals that you got in and you piloted. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
there was a carrier that they had in one of the shows that shot him out off of a ramp.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
And it was like the first thing. I love Zoids growing up. So shout out if anybody listening to this episode knows what I'm talking about. You got a fellow Zoids fan in this podcast. But that was what I thought about.
All right, cool. So
That's it. That's all.
Yeah, I really like the concept of this, and like it was very like narrow. Like there's only you have to be a precise pilot to even enter into the ship type of thing.
That's a little problematic in my opinion, but sure.
I mean, it reminded me of like the Death Star. You know, you gotta fly steady.
Or
like-
the trench run.
Yeah, trench run-ish. You know.
There was a lot more leeway in the trench run than in this thing. Like
There's a lot more
yeah.
leeway.
you're
Yeah,
off by
yeah.
a foot, you're dead. But I like that. Blah blah blah. And
Well, that's why you have to go in slow.
right. 'Cause I'm assuming that's how they usually enter is pretty
Mm-hmm.
slow. But or they have like an assisted like tractor beam type thing. that
Yeah, I
goes
think
around.
it
Yeah.
yeah helps them out.
So, blah blah blah. Boba Fett is being chased by the TIE fighters, and then Bo-Katan. Yes.
Keep going. I want to say something about Boba Fett in a second.
So Bo-Katan, she like I gotta get in, I gotta go blah blah, and so they're making a line for the docking bay through this narrow line, and they're about to launch another TIE fighter, and right in the way, I'm like, oh, get out, go back, like get out of the way.
That deck officer is a hero because there was about to be a head-on collision.
And he died in like
But he died
3
some
seconds
seconds
later.
later.
Well, that
Minor
doesn't matter.
detail.
He was a hero for a split second.
He died for the Empire. Okay.
There we go.
Ain't no heroes involved there. But anyways.
But she gets in and she's clanging back and forth kind of in a little bit in this corridor thing, landing it line, and scrapes in there and comes to a stop, and then they start guns ablaze and blah blah blah, boom boom boom. But Andrew, what were you gonna say?
I loved the scene where Boba Fett realizes, because he's like, oh, they're in. I'm good. I can get out of here. And immediately,
Boom.
his cannons rotate backwards.
Mhm.
He does a spin and circles the blasters as he's firing, takes out 2 TIE fighters,
Oh, so
and then just
sick.
jumps to hyperspeed. Dude, like, come on. Another example of why he has the most notoriety and fame as a bounty hunter. Like, dude, just seeing him do that spin trick, I was like, come on.
And talk about detail, like anytime they're in a situation when he had to shoot or someone was tracking him, his head visor dropped instantly And it was
Yeah.
just like so beautiful. Like, I mean, don't get me started on Boba Fett, or we're gonna be here for another
It
hour.
it
So
it almost looks like it's integrated into the ship too.
no, it looks like if he's in that cockpit and his hands
Yeah.
on there, the helmet knows and it locks in with him. Like, it's so, so beautiful. And Jeremiah's just sitting there.
That's all. I just
reading.
love that part.
No, I'm with you, Andrew. It's sexy as heck. But go ahead.
So, the gals, the group of 4 gals, they go their one way to clear the way to the bridge, because
Yep.
they're assuming that Moff Gideon is there. And so I didn't catch it the first time that I watched the episode, but when I watched it the second time, in context of how we see how she's kind of in an impossible situation when Din Djarin has the darksaber, you hear her say 3 or 4 times in their plan, I take out Moff Gideon, I
Yeah.
do it, I do it,
Oh
I
yeah.
do it,
Oh yeah.
because
She has to.
she has to defeat him for her to be the rightful ruler of Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't catch it the first time, but the second time it makes perfect sense. And I feel like
You didn't catch it the first time you watched it? Is that what you're saying?
that those lines that she was saying and why it mattered.
Oh, I caught it right away. I actually said it too. I was like, oh, because she has to defeat him.
Right. And so I was like, okay, that's that second time, like, that makes perfect sense. And so so while they're clearing the way to the deck, the bridge, Din Djarin goes his separate way because he has to pass the locker room, I guess, whatever what they called it, for the
The Dark Trooper locker room.
what did they
You
call
heard
it?
it here first, folks. It's
What
the
is it?
I don't know. It's the storage area. I don't know.
We'll call it the
Storage
locker.
unit.
And so he has to.
Storage unit.
He was given, or he didn't get. He took Dr. Pershing's key pen.
Key
Code cylinder.
cold cylinder, key
Alright.
fob.
Key fob. His library card.
Well,
Yep.
hey, Jeremiah said key pen. Okay.
I can't. I don't know.
Key
I have a pen in my hand that I can see on camera right now. So like, that's the only thing I come up with. So he has to get there and lock them in or whatever before he can make his way to where Grogu is. And so it took like 3 minutes or something, he said, like, for them to like warm up and like
Yeah.
A few
Keep
minutes,
that-
it said.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
And so were you under the impression that they had to be in a cool environment?
Yeah.
To not overheat? That's what it was
Well, he
implying.
said that they're kept under deep freeze
Mm-hmm.
Deep freeze,
because
okay.
they pull too much power to be on standby all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
It takes too much to power them up. That's why they also had those things, and it looked like ice was coming off of them.
Right. And so he's right when he's about to get there, that's when the doors open and they're trying to walk out. And
I love how he's like, no.
Yeah.
that would totally be me.
and so he tries to lock him in, but the one at the front is able to grab the doors, pull it open, punch him across the hallway, and get out, and then the doors close, and then so the other ones are
Luckily.
trapped. Right.
Can we just all agree how lucky he is to have a suit of pure Beskar armor?
Can we all agree how much CTE he got after this, and how he probably won't remember any of this in like a year?
Dude, it was remarkable. I was like, he took that. Okay, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but he gets punched into a wall, and then the Dark Trooper picks him up and just starts rock'em sock'em roboting
That's
his
what
face.
I was thinking when they were trying to
Yeah.
break the door. I was like,
Yeah. So I thought it was cool that they were like, okay, yeah, we can teach him how to shoot, but we'll give him an alternative to, having just a blaster rifle.
it was just cool how they added the detail of when he was getting punched in the head, that even though the helmet wasn't breaking, the
The thing
piping and
behind
stuff
him.
behind him was getting crushed in. And
Oh yeah,
as
he's
he-
being pushed into the wall.
Yeah.
pushed through
Yeah.
like the pipes and stuff. So like that was a it shows the strength of the helmet, but also the strength of these dark troopers. How
Well, and like if you remember last season, like when when he blew up, essentially, like his armor was fine, but then he was bleeding from the back of his head.
right?
And so when this was happening, I'm like, dude, this boy is like not gonna be able to think. Like, I can't. Like, this is like football on steroids right now.
Yeah, but
You
I
know?
feel
yeah.
like the helmet took all the.
It took a lot of the blow, but it definitely did not feel good. He's loose in there.
Yeah.
Right. So when this is happening, he uses his flamethrower. I'm like, okay, because they mentioned that they had to be under a cool situation. I thought that this was
Oh.
going to. I thought that the flame was going to destroy it because it would overheat, but it was just a cool, crazy image when the flames are coming out of all the parts and it.
Did you
It was
see that
melting. It melted
it
his neck.
melted some of the covering around its
Yep.
neck?
I didn't
Yeah.
want to say that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it melted a covering, and it was lower. And then so when he actually finished him off, he actually couldn't have killed him with the way he killed him if
okay.
he didn't melt that part off.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was just a cool scene when the flames are coming out and it just turns and looks at him with like the flames coming out. Like,
Yeah, no, it was sick.
it was cool. And so then they're he's trying to figure out how to defeat this guy because he doesn't really have anything to stop him. And so he tries his whistling birds, and that seemed to do like something. Like you could see that the dark trooper was reacting to it. Like it was still like getting in between pieces of armor or something and like doing some sort of damage.
I was surprised it did anything to him. Cause like I felt like with whistling birds, it had to be like a humanoid. I mean, clearly I'm wrong, but it just kind of surprised me that it actually hit him. You know?
I wonder if there's some sort of like if he's able to in his helmet
I think they're really smart.
Well, yeah, but also like I thought he didn't have any more.
No, he did.
He keeps making them like
No, because he used them all in that one first episode.
Yeah, he has more.
Allegedly, yes, but I remember in the
Like
first season it
Boba
was
Fett
hard to find.
Boba Fett always has
A jetpack or a rocket.
So
True. I guess I don't know. They all got paying jobs, you know.
he has Galaxy Prime, so it's 2-day shipping for anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's fair. 2 days shipping. That's a long time for the galaxy.
no, from one end to the other end, that's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick. Yeah.
Some Prime should be like 10 minutes. Just kidding.
Okay. You're one of those people with deliveries, huh?
Hey, one day
boy.
only.
You're 1 minute late. I want my refund, like you promised in your commercial. But okay, so what I didn't realize the first time, in this, when I watched it the first time, was I didn't realize that he had his spear on him and it was knocked out of him and hit across the floor. So like when he took it out and used it the first time, I'm like, where did that come from? But then when I watched the second time, I saw that at the beginning when he first was fighting, like it got thrown down the hall a little bit, and then he later picked it up. But I was like,
Also, did anyone else realize the spear seems shorter?
I just think
I don't think so.
Really?
he's just taller than Ahsoka, so
It just seemed like when we first saw the spear, right? She was using two hand and like more upward comment. He was using more like a sword than a spear.
He's bigger.
I guess.
He's just
I mean,
bigger.
I was just wondering. I don't know if it was cut. It just seemed a little smaller, but maybe it's just because he's bigger.
I think he's just taller than Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah.
So it looks not as tall, but yeah. So he whips out the thing and gets him in the neck and
Killed him.
and then he runs over to the doors and pulls the lever, and all of the Dark Troopers get sucked out in the vacuum of space.
Did anyone think that
Okay.
was permanent?
Okay, I did.
I
And
didn't
I
even
was
think of it like either way.
for a second, I was really disappointed because I was like, oh, seriously, all this
Really?
build up, and he only fights one, and they get thrown into space. But then I literally right after that, I paused it because I needed to use the restroom, and I got up and
Potty break? What is that trash? Okay, keep
dude.
going.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just use the restroom on my couch the next time. That'll
Like a
I'll
human
tell my
being,
wife.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I
bottle's
paused
up.
it and I was in the restroom and it literally dawned on me. I was like, wait a second. They don't have to breathe and they have thrusters. None of them are dead in space right now.
Right.
So then it was fine.
Kind of like
Leia?
what was it, K2SO that said that
Oh, yeah. Was it
In Ro-
KTSO or was it... I thought it was a girl from Solo
no, it wasn't. I think it was K2SO that
who said, like...
I can survive in the
What was it? I
Or
know
what-
what you're
or-
talking
or-
about.
or was it AP from
I think
Rebels?
it was 8... No, it was live action.
Okay,
Because I remember what the line was like, I'm not the one that needs to worry about it, you do. It was
Yeah.
something like that. Like,
But as far as whether the Dark Troopers can come back, like, I didn't even really think about that aspect of whether they would come back or not. But it didn't surprise me when they did come back.
correct. It was like, oh, whatever.
Right, yeah.
They're going
What
to
I was
come.
most surprised was that they didn't have magnetic feet where they could just
Stay there.
stay there, but
Lock in.
lock down. And
I was more surprised that there was an airlock on the other side of the storage
Uh,
area.
I think that's just how they are deployed off the ship.
Oh, good point.
Dang, nabbit. Yeah, that's a
Good point. I didn't even
That's
think
a
about
good
that.
point.
Including if
like,
we go back to the episode.
No,
Yeah.
okay. So when I watched
Yeah,
this
so
for
they
a second
wouldn't-
time, I watched the last week's episode and this one at one sitting.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly the way they exited because they walked
It
out.
it makes more sense because they wouldn't walk through the entire ship until they get to another airlock. So, good point.
So,
But it was a very convenient place to put the airlock, though. But then again, it makes sense because you wouldn't want the door open to be in there because you couldn't pull it.
Right.
right.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're launching them from space,
You don't want to be
Same.
in there with them.
that's correct. Yes.
So, yeah, Andrew, duh. That's why it's there.
Okay. So, but I don't know if we mentioned this already, but in the midst of this, or I can't remember the line that the chronological aspect of this, but when the four ladies get to the bridge, they take out everyone, but Moff isn't there, and so
Yes.
because of this, when Din gets to the holding cell for Grogu, he's already in there.
Can we before we get into that, can we mention how dope these girls were, just destroying
Oh, yeah.
everything,
Oh yeah.
like hard.
I really like Finnick. I really like her.
Yeah, no, she's real. Her acting is just unbelievable. But then like,
Yeah, I'm surprised at how much I've fallen in love with her character, and I'm really excited to learn more about her backstory in Bad
Yeah.
Batch,
yeah,
which is a thing that she's in there. So
The
I'm
one
excited for
thing
that.
about that whole scene when they were going through the ship that I did not like, the one thing, everything else is perfect. Great choreo, great. I
clog.
mean
the jam.
no, the clog. I actually thought that was kind of humorous because like that happens all the time to real weapons. So it's like, I love how she like hits it and you hear it power up and she's like, "Excuse me," as she turns around and then just starts
swings it
mowing
over her
people up.
shoulder.
But the one thing that I didn't like was the martial arts incorporated in the gunfighting, because in every time that Finnick did something that wasn't just shooting, it could have been over so much more quickly just by shooting someone.
I noticed that, but
Okay, but dude, it was
It is-
so
it is-
dope.
when you got a martial, because she's martial art, she's trained in martial arts, right?
Correct,
The
100%.
actress.
I think so.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
you're not gonna hire someone like that and not utilize that flashy.
fair.
Dude, that
I-
roundhouse kick. Because first of all, you're not worried about the stormtrooper actually gonna hit you. Like, she's
Yeah,
not
'cause
worried
she-
about getting shot. That one when she
died.
Matrix,
She
Matrix
the-
one of them.
Yeah, that was good. That was
So
good.
it's like she's not worried about that. And she's like, let me save my ammo and roundhouse kick you in the face. Like, it was dope. I was like,
And then she shoots him.
Yeah, but yes, Andrew, like I did notice that too. Like she could have just went in there shooting, and it would have been a lot quicker. But
it was dope.
I like that aspect of her character that she can shoot really well, but she can also fight hand-to-hand combat.
That is the mark of a good bounty hunter.
Yes.
True. But like all those ladies were shooting and kicking butt at the same time. You got like WWE, like RKO'd out of nowhere at one point, and then you got like a belly roll or whatever. Like, it was dope. It was so sweet.
Belly roll?
I don't know. Like she threw
Oh, a hip throw.
the hip throw. That's the word I was looking for.
She
Like,
used the the belly roll.
the belly
when you-
roll when you roll
Yeah.
them onto your belly.
Yeah.
But
But I really like the scene with the bridge, like where you.
Yes.
yes,
that's a
and they
weird thing,
just
like-
jumped off.
Yeah, and
It
like
was
it's a
sick.
weird bridge where you just like lose your balance and you fall into space. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
just-
no. If you cough wrong, you're screwed.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks again to the architects of the Empire for making things extremely dangerous for no reason.
But it was dope. It looked sick. It was
That's
very
true.
pretty scene. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that because I felt like a lot of ladies really appreciate that scene. I want to make sure that we highlighted that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, it was really dope.
What I like about it is it wasn't like purposely saying this is a group of women doing it. It was just these characters who happen to be women, and it wasn't
Or
like
kicking
in
butt. Yeah.
and it wasn't like in Avengers Endgame when they're at the final battle when all the female superheroes come together. Like that was like blatantly
Yeah, that was like hurrah,
hurrah, like a woman doing this. Like
Drew, what was that?
hurrah.
All right.
okay, but like in this
You
one, I
heard it
think
here first, folks.
it was executed a lot better because it wasn't saying a group of women for the sake of that scene. This was just these characters coming together, and they just happen to be women, and they're just the best at their craft.
The
And
best.
they're able to kick butt and take out. They essentially took out the whole entire crew of
They did.
this thing all by themselves. Like
They did.
so, like that was just great. Yes, that's good that we mentioned that, and I
Yeah.
really like that scene. So Din Djarin gets to the holding cell for Grogu, and Moff Gideon is there with the Darksaber on, just reaching out over Grogu, and it was very like it was expected. Like I wasn't surprised that this was the way it played out. The scene.
Yeah. Do you know what I wish would have happened and would have also not been surprising?
If like in the Clone Wars movie when Obi-Wan sits down to have some tea, they just sat down.
I was going to say if Moff
negotiated.
Gideon was holding a cup of coffee, but sure.
Or Grogu was drinking coffee.
Ah, like he was in that one episode.
Yeah,
but
when he
it
was drinking
broth.
the bone broth.
The bone broth. Yeah.
We all know it was in that cup. Let's be real.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? It wouldn't be surprising if we cut to a word from the second sponsor of today's episode.
No,
What's
it would
the
not
Andrew's
be.
Coffee and Tea. So take a quick listen to that and learn a little bit more about him. Yeah, do it.
Do it.
So some notable things that Moff Gideon says that we should go over is, well, one, I was surprised that like he said something along the lines of how he knows everything that happened, like he's already like knows everything's gonna happen. And he mentioned that he didn't killed or destroyed the Dark Trooper. Is that what he specifically said?
He destroyed one, and then he also said that he used the last of his whistling birds.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like wondering, like, how did he know that? Is he just?
ISP. He has cameras everywhere.
You think it's the cameras? Like,
You think
oh,
that's
yeah.
what it is? You don't
like the
think he's
American
Force?
government.
Because
Ooh.
part of me was thinking he's somewhat Force sensitive, probably maybe from Grogu's blood.
Oh.
Like that's what I was thinking. Like, you mean like how did he know this? Like
So for me, it was very
everyone else
sketchy.
is dead. Like so, like no one could have rated it to him.
I feel like he has his own like security feeds and stuff that he can tap into.
So it's either that, like I'm down for that one, Andrew. But I also really do like that theory, Jeremiah. There was also a theory out there because at a certain point, the Death Troopers stop doing something and they turn, and so people are like,
That is true. Yeah.
is there Grogu's blood in them? Are
No,
they?
I think they're linked, cybernetically linked.
Yeah, but if you watch
I mean,
it, like
Moff
they
Gideon is cybernetically linked to the Dark Troopers.
No, I think
no,
the Dark Troopers are cybernetically
they're linked
connected,
together. I
and then he has a link or a feed that he can tap into from them.
I'm thinking more of the lines that he is kind of Force sensitive. Because it is
I don't-
weird because he just knows too much.
Because it just seemed weird that he knew those details so quickly. Like it just stood out to me. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying.
and it stood out to me too. And I think it was supposed to stay. It was supposed to have that effect.
And so I was just wondering, is he Force sensitive? Did he use Grogu's blood to make himself Force sensitive in some way? Like, because that's been theories that people have had. Like, what does he want with Grogu? And then part of it was to make himself Force sensitive. So that was just something that crossed my mind. But he did say that his use of Grogu has already been, he's used him for his purpose. He's gotten the blood, used his blood, and he says that this blood will bring order to the galaxy. And
Yep.
what do you think bring order to the galaxy
Bro,
means?
is this a real question or you just want us to say it?
It's Palpatine.
Snoke and Palpatine.
Because order, I assumed I kind of associate with the First Order. So that would be like the
Snoke,
Palpatine type of thing. So
yeah, that's what it is.
because we see those botched
Snokes,
corpses,
yeah.
Snokes or Palpatine clones or whatever they were. Like we see that. So, but I knew it was linking the First Order when he used the word order.
Well,
But
and
then-
earlier in the season, that his like commander or whatever, the girl on the ship says, this is gonna help us with the First Order, or like the New Order is what they called
She
it.
says you'll be rewarded in the new era.
Yeah, the New Era. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, I do remember from last episode that officer that was talking with Bill Burr. He says no one wants freedom, but they want order.
Everyone wants order, and at one point they'll beg for it.
Yeah. So then, like, I was thinking, are they just using the same terminology from previous episode, and it's not referenced specifically to the First Order, but order as in control or something like that. But Gideon's like, all right, well, I don't have any use for him. You can take him. Like, I'm like, all right. Obviously, he's lying. Like, this is not whatever. And so Moff Gideon retracts his saber, steps aside, then goes to pick up Grogu, and of course, Moff Gideon goes to try to kill him, which I don't think he was trying to kill him. I think from that moment, his plan was to lose so that Din Djarin would get the dark saber.
Now that is feasible.
Because when the camera's showing to go pick up Grogu, he doesn't have any armor on the back of his legs. So he could have just went straight for the legs and cut off his legs, but he went for the back where there was a
jetpack.
I mean, to be fair, he was
Beskar.
he was hitting like large portions of armor when he was swinging.
Right.
Okay, so my counter to that is he was surprised that he was spared. When he was spared after the fight, he says that, "Oh, so you're gonna spare me? This
Well,
is interesting."
either
Like, I don't
way,
think he went
he would have
in
got.
that knowing that he was gonna lose that fight. I think he went into that fight thinking he
Well,
could
he
win
was.
it.
Well, he was also going to shoot himself.
Well,
So
that's
that could be part of
because
his.
no, because that's because of who showed up, and that's why I think he is force sensitive. Because I think he knows who showed up, and the rumors of Luke is too strong, and that's why he gave up. He couldn't do
Well, I
anything.
mean, if you think about it, if he's part of the remnant of the Empire, they know who Luke Skywalker is.
Exactly. So
You know,
he
like I don't,
found out.
he wouldn't have to be force sensitive to
Well,
piece that together.
sure, but I'm just saying. I feel like that was more the case. Not. I think it was more of that. Like he was terrified. And it went from
Well, I
him
think they
thinking he
were.
was going to win the whole thing, and then, oh, shoot, I'm
I,
done. And he didn't want to get
well,
captured.
see, I think that he, before Din Djarin entered the holding cell, he knew that there was no way he was going to get out of there alive. Like he knew he lost in this, I think. And
That's possible, I
I
guess.
think his plan was he knows Bo-Katan wants the dark saber, and she's teaming up with this Din Djarin that he knows backstory of.
And he
And he's
did know
like,
they were already there.
"What's that?"
Like, he knew that the girls were already
In
at
the bridge.
the bridge.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that does kind of make sense.
So like, I think he knew that he's like, I'm gonna lose, but I'm gonna like throw crap at the fan for these people, like so they don't. They might win in the short term right here, but it's gonna cause a great internal conflict in these relationships.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he intended to kill Din Djarin, and I think he purposely lost that fight with Din so that Din would get the dark saber to cause that conflict.
The more and more I think about it, yeah, it could have been like that too. You're right. I think you're right, Jeremiah. Because the more and more I think about it, it's also, it could be like that because he's stalling to get those troopers to come back.
There's that too.
That's also yeah, that's a valid point.
So I feel like that it could be that, and then also, I had something else too. I was thinking that made sense. Yeah, it could be like because he knows exactly what's gonna happen play by play, which is
Right.
why like I understand why people are speculating that he could be force sensitive, because it's very he says like, what does he say? He say, I know every step you're making before you make it. So it is kind of weird that he
Yeah.
says that. So it would make sense that he did that on purpose.
Yeah, and when that conflict is brought to Din and Bo-Katan's attention, like he's like laughing and
Yeah, no, he
smiling,
was
like
pumped.
he's happy about it. Like he wasn't surprised that this was
No.
going to happen. He knew this was going to happen, and so
By the way, I really liked him,
Oh, he was
the,
good.
the actor and his character development in this
in
episode.
this episode, he's really good at facial expressions,
Yes.
and we first see that great facial expression when Grogu is taken and he opens up the cell and Grogu's taking out those two stormtroopers, and just the look on his face of like horror, like surprise. So it's just a good thing. So I like that he's in this show, and I'm happy he's still alive. So we'll definitely see more of him
Yes.
scheming in some holding cell, jail cell somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because the more and more I think about it too, Jeremiah, that could be possible because he has surrendered before. He's made people surrender before. So he knows defeat. Because he made that crew surrender to Bo-Katan and them before. That guy, like when they took over the ship for those weapons in episode 3 it was.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's like, well, if they're already that far, you know you've already lost. And then he says long live.
Right.
So it's not surprising that he
Right. But when Din Djarin brings Moff Gideon to the bridge, Bo-Katan is automatically in horror of what happened. Because
Dude, gosh, the look on her face when the doors open and Din is holding the Darksaber and dragging in Moff Gideon, I was like, I can't even imagine
Did
what
you
she
guys?
is
You guys
thinking
knew
right
right
now.
away, right?
well, it didn't even cross my mind
What?
that I know because we've talked about a million times. Ahsoka is the rightful ruler of Mandalore. We've talked about this a million times. I know the rule,
Dude.
but like
Jeremiah, I feel like you're the one that.
it didn't even cross
That
my
was like the
mind
first thing
until
I thought. I was like, as soon as he smiled and he said those lines when he was on
Yeah.
the ground, I knew right away. I'm like, oh, it's about to go down. Like, this is actually not good. This is a bad. And I said that in the start. I'm like, oh, it's done. It's about to go down. And then the music changes drastically as soon as they walk in. Like, it wasn't like a happy music. It was like, game over. It's going down. That's cool. Honestly, Jeremiah, that's cool that they got you.
they got me.
That's really cool, especially you, where you're like hardcore clone. Like, you should know this better than anyone else.
It is funny because like he walked in and all I could think was, this is where the fun begins.
I was like, no, I
So
don't.
I was like, how? Well, because like
Yeah.
I knew he was gonna try to give it up. He's like, oh, this is yours now. He's like, that's fine. You can have it. You can take it. And I'm like, dude, no, it's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Because like I know
He said I yielded even. Like,
yeah. Like I was like, I know that Din Djarin doesn't want that responsibility. Like I know
No,
he doesn't.
yeah, he doesn't
He didn't do it
care.
on purpose. But then I'm like, it got me thinking, like, has this ever happened before? Where like someone accidentally gets it and they're like friends with the person who really should get it, you know?
Well,
Like
this is what causes a plot hole, because Sabine gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan,
Yes.
and that's how she originally gets it.
okay, but here's the thing. She gives it to Bo-Katan, and then the clans acknowledged her as their leader. That was the big thing, because you remember they're sitting on the ramp of the ship.
Yep.
And there's a moment where the clans actually acknowledge her as the ruler. So there's a difference. I think it's a difference because if she were to take it on the ship with no one but Reeves as a witness, she would be living a lie. But because the heads of the clans acknowledged it before, that was them saying, you know what? Sure, it was given to you, but we acknowledge you as a leader, and we're going to honor that as the leader of Mandalore.
I
you know?
really want like a story that's backwards where we see how she lost it to him. That's what I want.
Eventually, we're gonna see a backstory on the Purge, because like that's something that we don't know anything about. Sometime between season 4 of Rebels and season 1 of Mandalorian, there was a purge on Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're gonna get that eventually.
I really hope so.
But go ahead, Drew.
Oh, I was just gonna say I hope I'm alive for it. I'm just being real, man.
As do we all.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you know, the one way, now you might think this is super corny, but the one way out of this whole she needs to like kill Din to get the saber to rule Mandalore was, what if they end up getting married? Then they're like,
oh, okay,
like they would just be like king and queen of Mandalore. Like
okay, let me tell you something. Mark my words. You heard it here first. If they get married, it will feel the exact same to me. The exact same. And I'm not
say it.
Just say it. I am not pulling any punches, and I'm not joking. It will feel the exact same to me as the Raylo kiss.
Thank you. That's all I wanted you to say.
There is no need.
That's all I wanted you to say.
There's no need.
Hey, it would still be more meaning though in the marriage than that kiss though, because it's the unite.
You're not wrong. That clap.
Because
we can.
What is one of the? Okay, but what is one of the major like things that Star Wars is based off of? So there's two things. It's like
Disney and Lucasfilm.
It's like Eastern religion / like Japanese culture mixed with European like.
Jeremiah, put your middle finger down.
Focus.
I'm holding my pen, and it's just like, but it's Eastern religion / Japanese culture mixed with like
Sure.
European knighthood chivalry. Well,
Sure.
what is the thing that happens all the time in
Love.
Europe? Kings and queens and princesses would always marry each other
Slay dragons.
to
Crate
to
dragons.
make peace treaties between countries and peace treaties between people.
They
Gosh.
That'd be. I think that would. Okay, so I understand what you're saying, Jeremiah. One, I think would be stupid. Two, I think what also would be stupid about it is it would credit her role.
Yeah.
And to I feel like as a woman, I would hate that.
Okay. Yeah. Not. I'm just gonna come out and say this. I think it would weaken her character,
Correct.
and I don't want that.
Yeah,
Because
I'm saying
she's been a strong, independent woman. She's been ruling by herself. She doesn't need a man. She doesn't need a man to do it.
Tell me about it.
And honestly, here's the thing. Honestly, I feel like that would be really poorly received because it's like, so she needs to get married to rule.
It would go back. It would take a backtrack from what they just
and Jeremiah,
did.
All of this to say, like what you're saying,
I know you want
is
more.
Legitimate.
No, it's legitimate.
I mean, like that's a legitimate idea. I just saying that it would be a big mistake.
I know you want more love entrances, but
I doubt that would actually happen. But I'm saying that would be like
that
the easy way.
That would be an easy way out. I also think an easy way out would let her beat him up. Just like, all right, punch me. Let's fight.
There has to be a way she can get it like legally without them fighting, and like there has to
make
be
it legal.
If he's the ruler Mandalore, he can write a new law saying
I can surrender my rights.
There's that, yep. But I'm saying I think there's going to be a way out of that creed aspect, the history aspect. And I really
like next time on
Dragon. What?
Nothing.
Keep going.
But I really liked how Moff Gideon was like, that saber doesn't have power, but it's the story that has power. Like that's just a really good line. And
he's sitting there all
yeah, he's just laughing at having fun.
Stalling
too, yes. But so as this is happening, boom, alarms go off, and we got incoming or whatever they said, and like, how many
life forms
are there? None. And it's like the Dark Troopers are back, and I feel like more of them came than were thrown out in the space, but whatever.
Whatever.
I
really liked
more of the merrier because of what we get later.
Well,
right.
Okay, so
I
understand real quick. I understand what you're saying, Jeremiah, but he says a platoon, which a normal platoon in the army has 40 to 50 people in it.
Right.
I really loved all of the cinematography and the visuals and the effects. But like the scenes of them walking through the hallways, because there was some of the angles, there was something about it that invoked fear for me. Like, not that I was afraid, I wasn't afraid watching it, but like it felt very intimidating. Like watching them in rows.
It worked. It
worked really well to hit that intimidation factor. Because like we know what they are, but you see them in these small corridors. They look really large. They've got weight. Like they looked like they had weight to them when they walked, and to see them walking through like that, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool.
Well, and it was cool because they showed that scene where those people like stormtroopers fell through, and it was that's how they got into the ship, was through that little really bad design bridge corridor thing. And like, so I thought it was really cool that they tied that back in. Like, we were supposed to see that scene to get that end result on how they're gonna get back into the ship. And once again, it was really poorly designed, but it looked cool.
So they enter the cruiser and they make their way towards the bridge, and so they lock the blast doors. Blah blah blah. Classic Star Wars, and they just start punching.
Rock'em sock'em roboting.
Yep.
Yep. Boom 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 boom, and
There
Okay,
are.
pause for a second. Can we talk about the theme? Their theme?
Oh
That
yeah.
semi-orchestral, semi-dubstep
It was definitely dubby.
that was going on. Like, dude, that was sick.
Okay, so I liked it. I was like, in my stream, like, dude, this music slaps. Like, this is dope. I was like feeling
Yeah.
it, and I didn't realize like I knew it felt different, but I didn't really realize it. And even when I went and watched the other live stream, and they're talking about it at the end, like that music was so different, but it worked. And like, they're like dubstep for life. Like it was like
very, very
it was-
robotic and
Jeremiah
metallic.
probably hated it, didn't you, Jeremiah?
I didn't notice the music.
Oh,
It just seemed like normal robot music in any movie. Like I didn't.
It stood out. It was. You need to go rewatch this episode, I think.
I have. I've already watched it.
No, like
twice.
now.
All right. See you guys.
yes, another episode of Jeremiah's podcast. I'm Jeremiah.
But anyway, so now it's like, now what's gonna happen? Because there's no way the 5 of them could take on all of them.
My heart was racing during
Me too.
this. Like, I legit was like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
Really?
Like, what is gonna happen? Because like, you're right. There's no way. There's no way. They might take down 2 of them, but then there's like another 12 behind those in a single file line, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is gonna happen?
Now let me ask you though, both of you. At this point, did you forget about who would come for Grogu? Like, were you expecting a Jedi to show up?
I wasn't. I wasn't because I was so wrapped up in the moment, but I will say that the second the X-Wing showed up, every single thing clicked. Every single thing clicked.
So for me, in that moment, I'm like, all right, so who's gonna come? What Jedi is gonna show up? I knew one of them was showing up, and I just didn't know who. And then when the X-Wing, what?
Did you watch the?
Yes, I did.
Recap?
I watched the recap because, well, one time, and I'm never skipping another recap because they tell you everything that's gonna happen.
There you go.
So I've learned my lesson. I was like, okay, so who's showing up? Who's it gonna be? I was like, is it gonna be Ahsoka again? Is it gonna be other people?
I'm so glad it wasn't Ahsoka.
Really? Well, okay, I love what we got, but I would have still loved to see Ahsoka again. I just love Ahsoka.
I feel like it would have been a cop out though.
Why?
It would have been like the worst decision because
because she's like, reach out and a Jedi will come and help you, maybe. And then he does, and it's just her again. Like, why didn't you just come with him?
No one showed up. I guess I'll answer the call for you.
I was on call, and the first and second choices weren't.
I heard Thrawn could be in the basement of the ship, so I'm checking it out. I know. I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't have hated it if it was her. I was just like, who? I also like when I saw. So we could get to the point where. The last second, we're at that point, right? And then X-Wing shows up. I said Luke, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, could it be someone else? Could it be someone else in X-Wing? Like, could it be, I don't know, Ezra somehow? Like, I don't know. I didn't want to assume it was Luke because I've been denied that theory before in the past, so I was like, "No, it's not. Maybe it's not Luke."
That's his like trademark thing. When I saw that X-Wing, I was like, "Yep, this is Luke. Here he is. We're gonna get to see him."
But for me, like when we saw the X-Wing, I didn't immediately jump to Luke. But when Cara Dune says, "Oh, great, one
X-Wing,"
at first I thought it was
yay!
I thought it was like the
Asian guy,
New Republic showing up. Like, I thought there was gonna be a whole group of like
the Rangers of the New Republic,
that or something, or like the New Republic's like military would show up. I'm like, but when she said it was just, oh, a single X-wing and we're saved or whatever, I was like,
Yippee!
is that's Luke? And then and then like the music changed,
Yes.
and then it goes. So you see the X-wing enter the landing bay, and you see Grogu like turn his head, like
He
he senses
acknowledges it.
He could
he
feel
senses
it.
a presence, and I'm like, is this Luke? Because the X-wing is Luke's thing. Like, I'm like, okay, like, but then I was kind of like Drew. I was like, I'm not gonna just jump to conclusion.
I did not want to assume because I didn't want to get my heart broken. So I was like,
Like,
it
I'm
could
like-
be someone
I'm
else,
like,
maybe.
then I was thinking, like, how are they gonna do Luke? Like, because they're gonna have to show his face. They can't like
Right.
not show his face.
Well,
Right.
as soon
I'm
as
like-
yeah,
And I was like, I don't think that they cast Sebastian Stan yet. I thought I just heard rumors that
Right.
it's for like future projects or something. I'm like, it can't be him. I'm like, is it? Because when I saw him like walking with like the cloak on, I'm like, well, we saw Ahsoka in a cloak, but it wasn't black. I don't think. I think it was like gray. I'm like, and
Well-
the head didn't have like the two like points on it, so I was like, it's not Ahsoka. But then
which
like
would
when
have
we
been
first,
weird if it was with the X-wing.
yeah, but then like that first scene when we see him killing the Dark Troopers, I see that he's wearing an all black like cloak.
And he has a green lightsaber.
Well, the first scene we see
We
him,
didn't see
he
it
doesn't
was
have-
black and white.
it was black and
I
white.
knew it was green.
Oh well, you
I
felt
could
it in
see
the
it.
Force.
I did.
Shit. And then when we see the green saber actually on that,
Well, but
bridge,
even for that, doesn't Ezra have a green saber?
I think he does have.
Yes, his saber
And so-
is green.
But it's the shade of green.
No, okay, well, yes, but even this, when I first saw the lightsaber, I was like, it could be like when I saw like the light of the thing. But
Sure.
then the first thing I looked for was the glove. That was the first thing I looked for.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that glove, I'm like, it's Luke. It's Luke. Are you guys serious?
'Cause
And
it-
I was
it-
tearing up. I was
scene where
literally
it's like
tearing
his
up.
arm is extended out and he's walking, and it's just a close up on his hand
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the saber.
I was
But
tearing up.
I will tell you, Luke has always had a very unique shade of green. That's different from like
Most-
your average green light. Like if you look at the scene in Attack of the Clones, where there's like 1,000 Jedi and they all have different color lightsabers. Like it's a different shade of green from the normal green.
I've never
It's
noticed.
it's like deeper. It is. It's different.
Oh, I believe you.
Yeah. It's my favorite lightsaber. So,
And so he's
Oh.
just
oh, speaking of which, on a quick side note, I was talking to my wife about this, and I was like, man, I'd love to have that hilt. Like now more than ever, I would love to have that. And she looks at me and goes, why this?
yeah. And for our fans, you'll find out
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah. She was like,
subscribe
what
to
the-
us on YouTube, and you'll know why.
You have
she
to
was
go
like-
on YouTube next week, guys. Seriously.
Yeah.
Christmas Day.
She was like, why this then? And I was like, well, no, you don't get it. Like I like, sure, I've wanted this Return of the Jedi hilt since I was a kid, but like they're super expensive. You can't get them
One's not
brand new
good
right
enough.
now.
One thing is not good enough, Andrew.
No, but I told her, I was like, you have to understand, we're talking about my favorite EU and my favorite canon. Like they're one and the same. Like you, so I'm
She
having to
just
sit
rolled
here
her
and
eyes
explain
at
to her
you.
like, no, you did the right thing. Like I loved it.
No, I feel her. I get her.
so-
I support your wife.
All right.
But when it was the green saber, I was like, this has to be Luke. Like even though like they still didn't show the face, I was still kind of a little skeptical. I'm like, there's no way that's not Luke now, type of thing.
Right.
And so he's just killing everyone or every dark trooper and just using every trick in the book.
And you know what it reminded me of?
Tell me about it.
Episode 3. Anakin.
There is
Mauling down people.
Don't we
not the kids. You're
somehow
talking
No,
about
not the kids. I'm
I was
not.
to say, Drew, you make a joke about
We
the
never.
kids at least once
No,
an
no.
episode
Jeremiah
somehow.
does. I don't.
Or Jeremiah
I'm
does.
the
Yeah,
one
one of
that
you.
does it the most.
I still have candles lit for them. All right,
But there was-
kids.
But there was one thing where he kind of like
No, it
does
was.
a long reach towards
Mm-hmm.
someone, and I'm like, that looks exactly like Anakin did when he was killing the Separatists, or not on Mustafar, killing
Yeah.
the Trade
Yes.
Federation guy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was the same like lunge. I'm like, that's definitely.
It
It was
was.
really
I was gonna say someone tore that down already, and the fight style, choreographed style, is the exact same as that in
I will
episode
tell
3.
you that a lot of the moves he used, even some of the grips he used, were very, very similar to samurai fighting techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're exaggerated and they're not exactly the same, but there were a few
Mm-hmm.
times where he did stuff, and I was like, that, that is very similar to things that I had learned myself. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was like I said, my first thing when this was really going, I thought of Anakin, and like I was like, this is the Luke that we were promised that we never got.
Right.
This is the Luke. This is fixing the new Luke that Disney gave us. This is Disney trying to fix their situations. And I love this Luke. This is the Luke that everyone wanted. And then my third thought was Andrew's probably going to be so giddy in the morning because this is EU Luke. This is the Luke that
Yeah.
that Andrew
Yeah.
talks about in the
Because
deep
we haven't
stories.
seen Luke in his we've never seen Luke in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see him in Return of the Jedi and he's like
Stiff.
but he's like really unrefined.
He's like button mashing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But so it's like finally, it's for him and Boba Fett this season, we got we got the actions that back up their reputations.
Correct.
And I loved that. There were quite a few things in that whole scene that I loved, but 3 things most notably: cutting one of the dark troopers straight in half.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you see them both sides go down into the ray shields into space. So that was really cool. When he picks up the severed head of one of them and just flings it with the force at the other one. I love that. I love that he uses the force in general through the whole thing, because that's something that we don't see a great deal, except for Maul in Clone Wars Season 7 and Vader at the end of Rogue One.
Yep. Well, there was that one scene that was like Vader in Rogue One.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask about.
And then my favorite part of all time was when he crushed the Dark Trooper with the Force.
Mm-hmm.
I stood up and clapped. I shot up because you see him holding it, and I'm like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? And you see his hand do this, and it starts to crinkle, and I was like, this is Luke. This is the Luke we've deserved.
This
all
is
this
the
time.
Luke from Legends, the stories we've heard in the past.
The overly powerful Jedi Master Luke.
Right. So that crushing scene was amazing, but at the same time when that was happening, I was thinking kind of like what you said earlier about when Finnick was fighting, like when she was just like kicking people and punching people. Like he could.
It wasn't sure,
but
hey, no.
See,
It's
no,
completely different. No, it's completely different. It's completely different. You can't prove it to me. Don't tell me you can't. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
It was worth it. Also,
yeah.
my favorite lightsaber scene out of that was right before the crushing scene when it didn't go fully through and he had to pull it back up.
Yeah.
When he was like,
Yeah.
all right.
So
I love that.
That's a samurai thing.
Yeah, it was so clean.
There's an actual cut where you go in and you pull it straight back
it
out.
It was so dope because it was even lunged out forward. It was like a it was so sexy.
There was one move where he stops and he's like in more of an action pose and he's got his lightsaber behind him. Mm-hmm. He had just blocked a blaster bolt with it, dude.
And that was when they tore that down about Anakin. That's what Anakin did with one of the when he was on that base or whatever, destroying all of them. He blocked one of those shots like that. So that's why they were comparing it. It was like very similar. Before he fought Obi-Wan, that's how he was like just mauling down things, and it had that feel, and it just had this like, everyone is scared of him. Like it was like, the galaxy's heard of him, and it was just so powerful. And the music, though, for me, it was like making me emotional. Like it wasn't like, yes, let's go, let's destroy. It wasn't like that techno drop where's the bass drop like music? Like it was like oh, this is the Luke that we were promised for. I'm like already getting emotional just thinking about it. Like it
For
was
sure,
so
for
good.
sure.
And I've never been like a die-hard Luke fan, like honestly, and this has like changed
Now you are.
this has
Yeah.
changed me. And yeah.
Yeah, the music was an interesting choice because, like, I think Drew, you said earlier how it was like a very like low key music, like it was very slow, like a slower pace. It was very like melodic.
Poetic, like just a smooth.
I was very surprised though that they didn't use any of the Force theme in it at all.
Well, they did. They did when Grogu was leaving.
Oh yeah.
They did
Well,
in that
I'm saying
moment.
like when Luke
He's
was.
saying in the
Oh.
moment.
I'm like we associate that melody with the Jedi.
Sure.
That I kind of thought that like they would have used that in there, but like they didn't, which was fine.
I don't
'cause
think
was,
it really it would have fit.
I mean, it would have
over that action.
I think it would have worked. In my view of this action, and you guys are Jeremiah's gonna hate me for what I'm about to say.
Oh, gosh.
So Jeremiah,
Here we
calm
go.
down.
I
Here
like
we
how you guys
go.
always think that I hate
Okay,
everything.
but
when I don't.
watch, ready? Just watch. For me, this was Disney apologizing for the over-the-shoulder Luke situation. This is them apologizing to me, and that's why the music was like
This is
that.
them having the right people in charge of the show.
This is his. I'm sorry. And
I
I opened that letter and I read it and I accepted every bit of it.
I don't know if I accept that apology yet, but it's
Okay, see, told you. I told you.
I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to have a conversation.
Oh,
with
you're ready
Disney
to.
now.
You're willing to have a meeting with them.
I see the remorse in their face, but I'm still
Oh
a
my
little
gosh.
weary of it. But
And for all those listeners who love The Last Jedi, I'm sorry for you.
We're sorry, yeah.
but it's a step in the right direction. I'll say that. But so my question though about the hallway scene was, now we have 3 hallway scenes in Star Wars. First was Vader in Rogue One. Then we got
Amazing.
Maul in Clone Wars season 7.
Yep.
And now we have Luke. So who did it best of those 3?
Luke.
I don't know, Vader. To see Vader. See, it's the same similar situation for me, Andrew.
No, you're right. It's seeing a character limited by
Technology.
the technology and the filmmaking of the time, see him actually live up to his potential in live action.
So that's like I feel like Vader and Luke is pretty close. Maul, it's like whatever, it's cartoon. Like for me, the Maul one, like
it was great. It was incredible.
No, it's dope. I'm not hating on it. Like the Clone Wars season 7 is some of the best Star Wars, but
sure.
But for me, these two, to see those characters and their full potential, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, is because it made A New Hope so much better. Because right before that, you get Vader in A New Hope, but like right before that, you know that he just mauled down people, and it just made A New Hope so good. And yeah,
well, I knew who else mauled down people.
Get out,
Maul.
Darth Maul.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Boo.
The thing about Darth Maul's hallway scene was he didn't have a lightsaber. He just relied on the environment.
He was also fighting clone troopers and not dark troopers.
True.
Dude, a platoon of clone troopers could take out dark troopers, dude.
Their armor was like blaster proof.
Rex would have found a way.
Yeah, well,
R.I.P. Rex.
And Rex is still alive, I'm hoping, in this time period.
So.
Yeah,
technically he is, because we don't have a canon death for him yet.
Oh, true.
Let's see. All right, so when Luke gets to the door, and this whole time when he's killing all the dark troopers, our crew in the bridge, everyone's terrified. Like they're scared. They're nervous. Like Moff Gideon's face, terrified. Everyone else is worried. Bo-Katan was like, a Jedi? Like, she hasn't seen a Jedi in forever other than Ahsoka. And I guess with Ezra and... Or no, wait. Did they meet
I think.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
She did.
it
They
did.
didn't have they didn't have very much interaction though.
Right. And so so she hasn't seen a Jedi in probably, apart from Ahsoka, 10 years maybe. And so she's nervous about this because she doesn't know what's going on. And so I'm nervous with them, even though I know that he's not there to hurt them. He's there
Right.
for Grogu. But it was just interesting that they are still in that mindset that the Jedi are evil in a sense, because like that's what the Emperor trained the galaxy to think, is that the Jedi were evil, that they were bad.
Well, and the
Not
Mandalorian
good.
people.
Right, and the Mandalorians, they were enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and so Luke still hasn't reclaimed the positive view of the Jedi yet, even though we find out that he's kind of like, he does it where he's Luke Skywalker, Jedi legend type thing. So he does get that at some point, but not yet. Because, and then I was surprised that Cara Dune didn't know who he was. Because like,
Now, to be fair, she wasn't by any of the monitors.
True.
So
well, but I'm saying like
see.
still didn't seem like she knew who he was even when he entered.
Well,
and
okay,
revealed
but
himself.
here's the thing. The rebellion, I think what people don't realize is that the rebellion was larger than just like like it was a full military. It wasn't just like a
Yeah.
group of people, like a group of a few hundred people. Like they had a fairly large, not as large as the Empire, but they had a fairly large fighting force. And if you think about how large that was, sure, maybe you hear about Luke Skywalker. He blew up the Death Star. He does all these crazy things. But then at the end of the day, you may never see his face, right? You might hear the stories. You may never see his face though. And then I think I inhaled some cat hair.
R.I.P. And that was Andrew.
Very good.
I hope you enjoyed him.
Luckily I'm not allergic. But he never says his name.
That is true. But
Furball?
When he's standing, I got a hairball. When he's standing there in the room, he never says his name. So like, she might just be like, "Oh well, this is another Jedi. That's pretty neat."
But I feel like only the Rebellion / New Republic had X-wings, and Luke would have been. Is he a general? When we get to,
He's a commander.
He's a commander, not a general, because
I don't think he was a general.
No, that's
They
Kenobi.
always they called him Commander Skywalker in Empire.
Okay.
And then I don't remember I don't think they called him anything in Return of the Jedi.
Because Han was a general, right?
Han and Lando.
No, because in Return of the Jedi, they call him Jedi Master Luke. Or
Because he was just a huge influence in the main Rebel Alliance. I just felt like
you would think that she would know, but
the last Jedi that they knew of, like I feel like she would have known him. I always knew of him like, a Jedi.
Well,
flying
I
an
mean,
X-wing. Like
Jeremiah,
Jedi
like
fly
who's to
X-wings?
say?
Let me tell you something. This show is full of people that don't say things that they probably could have.
Correct.
Like Din Djarin, every time he freaking opens his mouth, he doesn't lead with the information that's actually pertinent to the situation.
That is true.
Also, who's to
it's
say
like-
that as soon as Luke and them go down the elevator, she's like, "That was Master Luke." Like, who's this? We don't know what happened in that room. That's what we're waiting on.
It would be nice if, like, as he's about to leave, he looks over at Kara and she kind of like does a little slight nod, and he does his wink like he does in The Last Jedi.
Or one of them could have said, "Master Skywalker, there were too many of them. We didn't know what to do." And paid homage to that one kid from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. R.I.P. That's the broom kid we deserved too. Sad.
Wait, what? Did you just say you wanted Broom Kid to be killed in Revenge of the Sith?
No, I was saying that he is the true broom kid that we deserved, not the one that we got.
Gotcha. So you're still hating on
Oh, hell
Kid
yeah.
either way. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. Anyway, we're getting a little. So Luke enters, or I just say, Grogu looks at the camera as he finishes the hallway scene, and is touching the screen, and looks up to Din Djarin like, "This is who I want. Cheer for me." And and at that moment, Din Djarin's no longer like afraid of the Jedi because he knows he's here to help Grogu. And so he's like, open the door, and no one wants to open it. So he has to go open the door, and the doors open up, smoke, and this is the homage to the Phantom Menace with just a saber coming through the smoke, and he walks in. I'm like, are they gonna? They're not gonna do a face. They can't do a face reveal. There's no way that they're gonna do a face reveal.
Oh, they did a face reveal.
No, mine was like, I hope it's a deepfake. I hope it's a deepfake. I hope it's a deepfake.
And he reveals his face, and I was surprised at how well it was. I was surprised at how good it was, but it looks like Andrew disagrees.
No, okay.
It was better than
That-
Leia in Rogue One. Tell you that.
It was. No. It was. So what I found out on Instagram today is that there was an actor who does resemble a younger Luke Skywalker, and he played the parts, and then they digitally altered. They didn't like completely replace his face. They digitally altered his face to make it,
Which is
look
why
more like
when he moved a little bit, kind of sometimes it was a little glitchy.
right. And then, did you know that Mark Hamill voiced the parts?
Yep.
And then they digitally changed his voice to be younger.
Yep.
But to me, I could tell it wasn't bad. It was good. It was a very good job. I know,
yeah.
I'm not saying they did a bad job. I'm saying that I could tell, and for me, it was just a thing. Like it didn't necessarily. I think I may have said it took me out of it earlier. It didn't take me out of it, but I immediately was aware of the context that we don't have a young Luke actor, and they have to do something. And so we're like, I was just more aware of that fact. And I told I was talking to my wife Micaiah. I was like it would have been really cool if they had gotten like Sebastian Stan or someone else who looked like Luke. But then if they had recast Luke immediately, minutes after the episode finished, people would have taken to the internet and be like, they've got a young Luke. We're getting a movie. We're getting a TV show. And it's like, well, no, that's probably not in the plan for the foreseeable future. So I'm glad that they did it this way, because it's like a one-off thing. You know, it's like
Exactly.
we're committing to giving you a good Luke Skywalker, but we're not committing to this. We're not committing to this long term. You know.
I was so happy. I wanted a deepfake.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a popular opinion, but for me, a deepfake was reserved. Like I wanted that. That's what I wanted. I don't want a Luke story necessarily. I want him to come in, whoop butt, say hi,
right,
like, and then walk out. And that's what we got. And it brought me back to when I was young, as a kid. Yeah. And it, like I said, like I was holding back tears, and you can tell by my reaction in my review video. Like I seriously was holding back tears. And
Micaiah, my wife, when he started, like when the music started and he was cutting down the droid, started tearing up.
Yeah,
even, you know, and there was something about him, and we're not there yet, but him and R2 and the whole, like, the combination of things. The reaction that R2 had to Grogu, you could tell there was a recognition of something from the past there. You know,
potentially,
like, which of course we're getting ahead of ourselves. Jeremiah's like, guys, we gotta go in order.
I'm just listening. I'm enjoying the insight.
But you know, like, I was aware that it was not a fully real face, but at the end of the day, like, we were given something that we've always wanted.
Yeah, I was aware. But like I said, it was way better than Leia's.
It was
way better. I don't know why, Because Leia's wasn't that actress like Leia's daughter?
No, it was just
Yeah.
a different
Dude,
actress.
I'm telling you, it's the mouth. For Leia, it was the mouth.
Yeah.
I would say it wasn't just a mouth. It was.
Her
Have you seen
forehead
the
was huge.
Have you seen the deep fake of that same scene though, where they
Yeah.
actually? It's
Yeah.
100 times better, and you can't
Yeah.
explain why. It just is.
Yeah.
I
But
haven't seen that. I should see that.
yeah,
But I don't know. Like, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, there's times, but like for me, it's like this is a scene though that they could fix in the future too. As technology gets better, they can edit it, and we can get like a redone version. You know,
to
like
be
this is Star
fair-
Wars.
to be-
They do that every 10 years.
Yeah, but to be fair, they've already edited out Gene's guy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like they have the ability to
possible, yeah.
re-upload this episode file
Oh,
to
100%.
Disney Plus if they wanted. You know, so
I'm not worried
don't
about
know.
it. I know when I show my kid in 10 years, that is gonna look like exactly like Mark Hamill. I'm being real.
because they'll update it.
Yeah,
I was
they'll
gonna say
update
if they wait, your kid in 10 years?
Well, yeah, you know.
are you?
No, come
Spoiler
out.
alert!
No.
I was gonna say, did we just
No,
get a-
I'm just
did everyone
saying.
get a spoiler?
In like 10 years, they're gonna fix the problem, and potentially I could have a kid, and I'm gonna show them.
Oh, gotcha.
Calm
okay.
down, you guys. Jesus.
Okay, but anyway, my response to his face was one. I was impressed by how well it was, because I think. Do you guys think it was? What was better, Tarkin or Luke?
Tarkin's was so good.
Okay,
Because-
but Tarkin's was good because of the lighting.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Because they get-
Tarkin, my wife had no idea was fake.
Yeah.
The entire movie.
Right.
I think Luke's had some things working against him because of the lighting, because it was a well lit bridge
That's what
versus like
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
yeah.
it was very bright, fleshy color.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else
Yep.
in the room, there was still enough shadows in there where their faces were dimmed down. And I think if they were to put like some sort of shadow on his face, just just tint it down just a little bit, it would have been almost perfect. It would have been better than
Yeah.
Tarkin, because like you said, Tarkin's was dependent on shadows to cover up the obvious CGI. And
Yeah.
like we've talked about, like you've mentioned, like the whole lips thing. Like, I think the lips in this scene were very well done, and you could tell that, like what you said, it was a person that was doing it, and they just put the face over that, and so it was actual lip movement. And so, bad lip movement is what can cause a face to look fake. So, I think it's almost better than Tarkin. Tarkin's facial reconstruction was probably better, but you could still. But here, like it was like almost looks like it was a real person, because it wasn't. I don't know.
And I feel like Tarkin too, like I don't want to stay on this subject forever, but Tarkin, he's old, so wrinkles and stuff, like they add more of like a realistic effect than when your face is like smooth.
That's
Right.
yeah.
So I feel like because Luke's had that baby face still, like it kind of, it didn't have like the full, like Tarkin's I feel like just felt like it could be, like, I don't know. It was good. Tarkin's was really good.
Well,
Yeah,
and like I said, again, the times that you see Tarkin, he's
Is-
in rooms where
like
there are a
black.
lot more shadows. I mean, like that's a prime example is Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park movie. Like that's why the CG in that movie of the T-Rex still to this day looks good
because it's at night.
because it's dark. Yeah, you know. So
Dude, that
Yeah, that's-
toilet scene, so good.
R.I.P. that guy.
R.I.P. So good though.
All right. So he does the face reveal, and he looks over to Grogu, and Grogu looks out from behind the chair or whatever. And what does he say? He's like, "Come, little one," or what was it?
He's like,
Something
come on,
that?
little one. Yeah.
And
I love it. That was the interesting thing for me is Luke just
He was just there for Grogu. He didn't even care that there's this giant guy in like on the ground, like, just got knocked out because he tried to commit suicide. He wasn't here for Moff. Like he was here for Grogu. That's all he cared about. And he had to kill some guys on the way up. Oh.
And so Grogu is also hesitant, and he looks at Din Djarin, and Luke's like, he wants your permission, which was
Yeah.
Well, Din Djarin said he doesn't want to go with you, and
oh
then
right.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he wants your permission. And he's like, it's okay, buddy. Like, you can go. He's one of your kind, and
Dang.
they have their goodbye scene, and it was. I didn't expect him to take his helmet off. I'll say that. Like,
exactly,
but like when they're staring at each other, and
and
You can
he
see his eyes
touched
tearing
his
up. Oh,
face.
he reaches up to like the helmet,
I want to see you
and
with my own eyes.
yeah, and Din's like, looks like I have to take off my helmet, and he takes it off, and they just kind of stare into each other's eyes and look at each other, and
And that
he's
helmet
crying.
hair though, on point.
that whole
But
time my heart was breaking,
Dude,
yo.
I
oh my
was
god,
I was trying not to cry the whole time. It was so good.
yeah.
It was so good.
And so after that, he puts down Grogu, and Grogu grabs onto his leg and like, I don't want to go, type of thing. But then
R2.
R2D2 comes out, and I was like, oh,
I was
I was
so
I was
happy.
so happy.
I've never been so
Yes.
happy to see R2, and I was like, "Oh, R2!" Like I don't know
I
why.
didn't even
I
expect
don't.
it.
I know. I don't know why I was so happy to see him either.
Like,
I was just so
like in,
pumped.
in the X-wing, does
What?
on there? Is he on there? Like,
Yeah. When you look back, when it goes into the hangar, you can see R2 unit
okay,
on
because
the
like
top.
I
And
didn't even.
R2 has to roll through the carnage, like all the way up there, you know?
We
Why it took
okay.
him so
like-
long because there was so much stuff in his way. Like,
Yeah.
And let's be real, he also flew. Come on, he just used his jetpacks and just. But yeah, it was.
he had to wait
dope.
for the elevator to come back down. And,
True.
yeah, yeah. He's got his little mechanical arm just sitting there hitting the button. Like, seriously, this happens all the time.
Keep
You don't
pushing
even
it
know.
really
Luke
fast to
always
make it go
forgets
fast.
me in the back.
Yeah.
Freaking Luke is so annoying.
So,
Yeah, it
but
was
I
so
really
good.
liked it that scene because you could tell that they met each other before.
Yeah.
That R2D2 recognized him, and
Yes.
Grogu recognized him also. So,
They had a bond. Like,
and
I don't know if
the-
that's true. Maybe he was just
I
excited
don't
to
know
see
if
it.
Grogu. I don't think Grogu knew him. I think he was just really excited to see him. I
Okay,
think-
so
why
do
would he be excited to
do-
see him?
I
It's
do-
just a droid.
because it's like
Huh?
I don't know.
It's like
a
it's a
child.
smaller droid. Like he's not been around very many astromechs.
Yeah. It's just so I see that point of view too. Like I see that part where it's just like, when it's just like a cool little thing, and the child's like, "Oh, this is cool." Like I've never seen a
It's
droid
more
like
knee
that.
side.
Yeah,
I think-
but I think, and I think Jeremiah thinks the same. I think they knew each other from the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, because the way R2D2 does his like
He does his
the
dance.
dance shake thing,
Mhm.
like that's something like of like a joyous thing. Like
I thought he was remembering Yoda.
Well,
And was
it
like,
could
oh,
be.
there's-
It could
there's
be.
another one.
It could be.
no, I don't. I think it's implied. It seeks to make you think that
Yeah.
they knew each other. I think that's the intent.
But I was literally before he danced, I was like, "Do the dance, do the dance, do the dance," and then he did it, and then I was like, "Oh heck yeah!" I was pumped. I don't know why I was so pumped to see R2. I think it kind of like took me away from like the really emotional scene that we
Right.
just had. But for me, like the helmet taking off reminded me so much of Jedi when Vader took off his helmet and Luke was able to see Vader for the first time with his own eyes, and he was he didn't see his dad ever like that before, right? And it's the same with Grogu. He never saw his father without his helmet on, and he was able to take off his helmet and see his dad for the first time with his own, like, what his face, and that's why he grabbed his face. Like, for me, that's what that moment meant. It was like a really intense moment. And I got that scene right away, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to cry. This is really, I should not be crying for a TV show like this, like, but I am." And for me, Bill Burr, we were talking about last week how great Bill Burr acting was. This scene blew that way out of the water.
Oh no!
For me, it just like made that, And tonight I watched them both back to back, and I stay by my statement. It blew it out of the water. It was
Pedro Pascal just
his acting was so good for
tried.
not saying anything. It was so good. It was so
Bill
good.
Burr had way more mannerisms and facial like twitches. And
Okay, but you have to understand that Pedro Pascal, there was so much he was communicating with his face.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
Like so much.
So good.
Bill Burr did that also, and I think he did it better.
That's fair.
That's fair.
All right.
I just think that if the tears that Pedro Pascal had is what sold his performance, but other than the tears, if you take the tears away, there's not much. They're just staring at each other. And you're probably gonna hate me for this comment also, but when that happens, when he takes off the helmet and they're staring at each other, I hated the music. I hated the music in the movie. Because you want to remind me of? It reminded me of like an '80s type movie, and it was like Stranger Things, like a Stranger Things, like there's that scene in the end of season 2 when there's the dance and
What?
Come on.
Seriously?
when was it Dustin? Is that his name? He's sitting by himself and
Okay, yeah, you don't have to keep describing Stranger Things.
it was
Yes, I know what you're
the
talking
same
about.
exact scene. Like
It did not remind me of that music.
It
at
reminded
all.
me of that, like where it was like '80s. Music.
How do you remember that music, but not the techno beat drop music earlier in the episode?
Because one is based off of past experiences, and this one is just based off of what's in the moment. Like when you see Jabba's palace, you get excited about it because of past experiences, but people who are casual fans who have never seen it before don't care.
Oh, true. Actually, that happened today because Stephanie's cousin was like, "Wait, so what does this mean?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to even talk to anyone right now. I'm gonna go hide in a corner."
It's the same cousin that you had to explain why Tamora Morrison was in the first episode.
No. Well, yes and no.
Okay.
That's all her family. They're like getting into Star Wars right now for like the first time, like hardcore. So, but it's just like, huh? Well, okay, never mind. Just go watch all of Star Wars and come back and ask me questions.
Right.
But
all right, but Luke picks up Grogu. Grogu and Din are kind of like looking at each other while they're walking away, and they go into the elevator. The door closes.
But there's that subtle nod first.
Yep, they look at each other.
Yeah.
And the door closes. Black screen, directed by, was it Reed Payton or something like that?
Killed it. Demolished it.
But then there was a sick post-credit scene that we have to talk about.
No, we already did.
He's like, nah, we're good.
I don't want to keep talking. I can talk about that's like one episode by itself, and it's only a 5-minute scene.
Hey, by the way, I think Peyton Reed was also the director of the Spider episode.
Yes, I did remember hearing that.
For those of you that hated on the Spider episode out there,
you can still hate on it because it doesn't change.
No. What? It's good.
It's good.
Good.
Okay, honestly, okay. But last week I was hardcore hating on last week's episode.
Yeah, but by the end of the discussion, it was growing on you. Because remember, I was like, "You turned him against me," type of thing. Like,
yeah, and yeah, it worked. It's good. It works. So, what's your thoughts? I mean,
we've reached. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's leaves us open for our predictions because it didn't because last season ended with the Darksaber and that just opened up a million things. This I felt like there wasn't anything to look forward to other than the conflict between Bo-Katan and
that's
Din.
a huge thing though.
Huh?
That conflict thing is huge.
It is, but it's just like
because I mean we could pick up if
it didn't end with that though. It kind of it got us to that point, and then Luke showed up, and then it kind of made us forget about that.
I think that was a good call though.
I think it is too.
Because it makes you forget. It makes you forget Luke showing up. It makes you forget that whole moment, and then the episode ends, and you're like, oh wait, I still have something to look forward to. You know what I'm saying?
What
Like
if they
there's it's like
start? Yeah. What if they start next season? If there's a third season, if I'm wrong, what if they start it with Bo-Katan? The first thing she does is to shoot Din in the back, and then he runs, grabs his helmet, and they just start shooting at each other.
Then Luke would go up as a peacemaker and like disarm
Force
him.
chokes one of them,
I'm
and
I'm gone for 5 minutes, and this is
y'all
what
can't figure this out.
he sounds just like that. Guys, I'm gone for 5 minutes.
But I just think that would be kind of really intense beginning episode.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, I mean, my thing is that now, we've talked about this before in how eventually Mandalore is going to become the plot, reuniting Mandalore. And
I think we're there.
yeah, I mean, we've got Grogu out of the way. Grogu is no longer anchoring him to a quest, and now he at this point he is the rightful ruler of Mandalore. He is. And so that's going to be where this is going to go. It's going to be reuniting Mandalore. It's going to be, I think she's going to begrudgingly allow him to keep it for a while and help him figure stuff out. But there's so much about the Mandalorian people and his backstory and the gaps that we have in the timeline. Like if you've got Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on it, they could have an incredible.
Well, the thing is,
season.
he's not a Death Watch anymore.
Right.
We got to remember that. Like, he's not Death Watch anymore.
The thing is,
so
Din Djarin is he's so disconnected though from the rest of men because part of the Watch that is a religious zealot, and he doesn't understand much about the rest of Mandalorian history and culture, and so
he's gonna learn today.
He's gonna learn, but I think he's going to be a bridge between the two different ways.
Yeah. Well,
he's it's kind of gonna be like he's going to bring the rest of Mandalore more towards him, but he's gonna go more towards the rest of Mandalore. We're gonna meet in the middle where there's gonna be a higher commitment to the creeds, but it's not gonna be a legalistic creed where you have to wear your helmet all day.
Right.
But it's a restoration of the honor that he has and the restoration of the people joining into the past of not just kind of conquering the current.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing, like, in that fight bar scene or whatever, she's like, if we spent this much time fighting evil or the Empire, we wouldn't be in this situation at all. If these if as Mandalorians we can actually be on the same page, and I think if it goes to there's Mandalorian season 3, like this is what it is. My whole theory is completely wrong. I think it is going to be them trying to figure out who's in charge, but two, also they're going to build it up together. Like you said, Jeremiah, like they did, like he said he would help her rebuild Mandalore, and maybe it's not as her as the rightful ruler, but at the same time, like, does that even matter? Is that even the end of the day is to make Mandalore. It's not to whoever's in charge. And so if she can still put her influence into that, she wants her planet back. If she can still do that, that's better than her being the rightful ruler. Like, that's just a title.
Yeah, she just has so much weight on her shoulders because her sister was the leader of Mandalore during the Clone Wars. And so she has like this. She has a lot of obligation on her shoulders to honor her sister, and so
mean, she also had it stripped from her too, and so that's another thing. Is it's like she's got to reclaim what was stolen from her,
right?
It'll be interesting. I don't know.
So
I feel like
I think that's where we're going when it comes to season 3.
Yeah, and so. Like I mentioned towards the beginning of the episode, that Din Djarin says, I will see you again to Grogu. Do you think that will happen in season 3, or do you think that'll happen in season 4? Because I think it's promised 4 seasons so far. Like
I don't know. I could see it going either way and working both ways. I could see them playing it safe and like giving him to us. You know, we have a time jump, and then we get him in the first episode of season 3 because Disney is like, we need to slowly wean these people off of him. You know, we need to wean the fans off of
Well,
Baby Yoda.
I guess like that's the biggest thing. It's like, well, there is that. I think the biggest part for that, Andrew, is not more slowly weaning people off of the child. It's more of like, okay, so we're gonna lose a lot of money on merch. How do we fix this problem? 10 years in the future, we got it. We fixed it.
Right.
Or
he finds
Boba Fett
another,
book, and then we'll
he finds
fix it.
another child. It's like a Wookiee cub or whatever. I don't know what it
Now
is. Like,
that
can't
I
communicate with him either. Like,
I would pay big money
I
for
don't-
a baby Wookiee plush.
what was Chewie's kid's name? I guess I'd have to watch the holiday special,
Lumpy.
right?
Lumpy
I'll learn all about Lumpy this weekend when I watch the
and
holiday.
Lala and Poe.
Nope.
He's the
You'll think you're gonna learn,
but you don't.
but yeah, but
All right. Well, like I said, I don't know what else to predict for the episode for this next season or the
I
future.
think
So
honestly, I wouldn't mind if we go back through this season and say what's our favorite episodes, kind of do a full season recap, and then say our big predictions after.
are we gonna wait till just before season 3 to do our ranking of episodes though, or are we
I
gonna
don't know.
do it soon? Because
I guess that's up to the fans. I think we could leave it up to you guys. You, the listeners, you guys can pick. Go on our social medias accounts, blow us up on our DMs, and just let us know if you guys do you want that episode. Like maybe we can squeeze in. Not maybe next week is Christmas, so we're doing Christmas holiday. But maybe the weekend after that,
but
we
the
could
week
do
after
it.
that is the 29th,
True.
and so we could do episode ranking of season 2 then.
Mhm.
And then after that is my season 2 Bad Batch fan fiction starting.
Yes.
So
So
29th is the only option, or the
Or
week
y'all.
before season 3 airs, then we'll do it then. So it's
yeah,
Then you run it.
it's up to
You
you
decide.
guys. We'll leave this one up to you guys. You guys can also leave comments down below in this video as well. This will be up on YouTube and on Twitch, both at Empire Radio, and you can just leave comments in those things as well. So,
yeah, please do.
and like Andrew mentioned, also if you guys do want to order the coffees, just kind of the same thing. Jump in the DMs and say you want to snag a bag of the Rule of 2 coffee blend, and we can make that happen. So the more the merrier, honestly. Just jump in and we'll figure out the details on everything. Probably on Tuesday we'll announce everything. Tuesday is the cutoff, so if you guys say after Tuesday, you're not going to get anything. So as you
Well,
listen to,
I mean, to be fair, we only have 4 bags available for purchase right now.
unless everyone jumps in, but I need
Unless
to know by
everyone-
Tuesday.
Yeah, and then everyone, if we get another 14 people that jump in, we can roast more. You know, all we need to do is print the labels. So that's the easy part. We just got to roast it. You know.
Yep. But we
Um,
need to know as soon as possible, and those will be shipped out as well.
Yep.
All right, guys. I mean, we're 2 hours and 30 minutes into this podcast, and we could sit here and still talk about it, but we're not going to. If you guys want to watch it again, feel free to watch it with me. You can go on YouTube and link up those times, and you can watch it with me, and I will be with you in the Force. But anyways, are you guys good?
I'm good.
All
I'm
right. This has been the final episode of Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 16. I've been Drew,
I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Andrew.
and may the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.